This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
One go, all go, chased by Tweet Kitten, then Fundamental, Wayward Kitten fourth, Closing Bell still fifth. Fundamental diving to the inside. Tweet Kitten puts ahead in front and has the lead. Coming to the line, Tweet Kitten in front. Closing Bell runs on with Wayward Kitten. It is Tweet Kitten and Javier Castellano to win the Bryan Station. Final furlong of the Fayette Stakes. Wise Dan, Julien Leperoux looking for win number 4 on the card, and Wise Dan will make a shambles of the Fayette field. It is all Wise Dan.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
A desperate finish. Rags to Riches and Carlin. They're coming down to the wire. It's going to be very close, and it's going to be a filly in the Belmont. Rags to Riches has beaten Carlin and 100 years of Belmont history. The first filly to win it in over a century. Coming into the final furlong, Grasshopper is a stubborn foe for the Derby winner. Street Sense is full left. They're still head-to-head for the lead. Street Sense in a desperate struggle here with Grasshopper. Street Sense and Grasshopper under the line, and Street Sense prevails.
Now here's Mike Penna.
Closing day at Keeneland, big day at Churchill, kicking off their fall meet. That's tomorrow. We honor Rags to Riches. We honor Street Sense with those two stakes races tomorrow beneath the TwinSpires. Good morning once again, everyone. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, welcoming you to the Equine Forum, all presented by TwinSpires and all right here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. This is the show that launched a network, and I'm thrilled to have you with me in the saddle for the next 3 hours on Sirius 162, XM 207, our affiliates in Lexington, Louisville, and across the country, and streaming worldwide and podcast on our website, horseracingradio.net, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. This time next Saturday, barring a colossal upset in one of the races, we will know the likely winter book favorites for next year's Kentucky Derby and next year's Kentucky Oaks, as the juvenile races on Breeders' Cup Friday will be in the books. That means, too, that we will be just hours away from crowning champions in multiple divisions, including the Classic division. The $7 million Breeders' Cup Classic is going to be run as race number 9 on Saturday's 12-race card. It will have 3 more Breeders' Cup races following it. We're going to talk with Dale and Tim during I Ask, They Answer at the end of the show, 10:30 Eastern. We'll get their thoughts if they like doing it this way. If they like having the Classic earlier in the card. Do they like it? Do they hate it? Are they somewhere in between? I think we all understand why it is done because of the NBC commitments to football and the window to get the Classic on big NBC, main NBC, if you will, as opposed to USA or Peacock or one of those. So we all understand why it's done, but do you like it? Is there another way around this? Probably not, considering that NBC has commitments already to college football. But that Classic, regardless of when it's run next Saturday, that Classic will most certainly give us the 2025 Horse of the Year. And if you missed it yesterday, Locked, one of 2 Classic contenders owned by Aaron Wellman's Eclipse Thoroughbred Partners, trained by Todd Pletcher, has been withdrawn from the race and is now officially retired. So Locked, not part of that stacked Breeders' Cup Classic field. My poll question this morning pertains to the Classic, and it pertains to the horse that many people feel is the horse to beat. And it's not the defending champion, Sierra Leone. It's 3-year-old Sovereignty, who has been so dominant in that division this year. He'll take on older horses for the first time next Saturday. Does it matter at this time of the season? We're sitting here today, October 25th. Sovereignty just, 2 months away from unofficially turning 4. So at this point in a 3-year-old's career, do we consider them 3-year-olds, even though they haven't faced older horses yet? But will a loss in the Breeders' Cup Classic keep Sovereignty from being voted Horse of the Year? I think it's almost a certainty that if Sovereignty wins, there is no doubt he is going to be voted the 2025 Horse of the Year. I think that's pretty clear cut. He's already 3-year-old champion. But there are others in that classic field, older horses, that a victory may give them a slight edge over Sovereignty for Horse of the Year, in my opinion. I want to hear from you. So that's the poll question this morning. Will a loss in the Breeders' Cup Classic keep Sovereignty from being voted Horse of the Year? Here's your three choices. Yes, he has to win. No, he's already done enough. And the third choice depends on who beats him. And I think that's where the intrigue comes in. You can go to our social media pages at HRRN on X. You can do it on Facebook, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook. You can cast your vote there. If you don't do social media, email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net. Let me know your thoughts on this one. Give it to you one more time. Will a loss in the Breeders' Cup Classic keep Sovereignty from being voted Horse of the Year? Yes, he has to win. No, he's done enough. Or depends on who beats him. And you look at the competition. You look at the older horses that he's going to tangle with. Horses like Sierra Leone, the defending champion in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Does he truly have a stake in the Horse of the Year debate? Well, you can look at it and say, what have you done for me lately? And I think a lot of voters will do that. They'll instantly go to the horse that wins the Breeders' Cup Classic, unless it's some, 100+ to 1 upset like our Kong. Most voters, a lot of voters, will look at the Classic and say, winner of the Classic. He beat the best field, the best assembly of older horses that we've had all year long. Horse of the Year. It's not that cut and dry. Sierra Leone has only won one race here in 2025. That was a good one. It was the Grade 1 Whitney at Saratoga. He was runner-up in the Jockey Club Gold Cup, runner-up in the Stephen Foster, third in the New Orleans Classic. That's his resume right now coming into the Breeders' Cup Classic. So if he finds a way to defend his title and win again, are 2 wins from 5 starts enough to make him Horse of the Year? I don't think so. Probably not. What about Fierceness? Fierceness has been his typical Fierceness, right? He runs some really good races here in 2025. And he runs other races that are His effort in the Whitney. Ends up 5th in the Whitney. Wins the Pacific Classic. 2nd in the Met Mile. That was a good one. It wins the Grade 2 Ali Sheba. That's what you're looking at with a horse like Fierceness. A win here. Another Grade 1 on his resume here in 2025. Is that enough? Probably not. He would then be 3 wins from 5 starts. Not a bad, certainly a fantastic campaign. I think any of us would take it if we owned that horse. And a win in the Breeders' Cup Classic, but probably not enough to supplant Sovereignty, even if Sovereignty gets beat. The one horse that I find intriguing, that I feel has a stake in this, is Mindframe. I think if Mindframe can find a way to return after what was a disastrous Jockey Club Gold Cup trip, right? Losing his rider. I mean, doesn't get any worse than that. Thank goodness everybody came out of that one okay. But you remember that bumping incident. It was just a horrific race. You draw a line through that one, but you look at what else he's done. Mindframe 3 for 4 in 2025. The only defeat coming in that cluster of a Jockey Club Gold Cup. And he was among the favorites in that race. Not the favorite, but among the favorites in that race. I think if he had won the Jockey Club Gold Cup, we'd certainly be saying, okay, it's down to Mindframe and Sovereignty for Horse of the Year. But the Jockey Club Gold Cup was not his fault. Draw a line through that one, and look at what else he's done. Wins the Stephen Foster, Grade 1. Wins the Churchill Downs at 7/8 of a mile, Grade 1. And took the Grade 2 Gulfstream Park Mile back in March to begin his campaign here in 2025. 3 consecutive victories. before that Jockey Club Gold Cup. So if Mindframe comes back, beats Sovereignty, beats Sierra Leone, beats Fierceness, beats everybody else, journalism, beats them all, he ends up 4 for 5 here in 2025. And you draw a line through his one loss. You excuse that one. I think Mindframe's the horse to watch in here if you're going to be looking for another horse to supplant Sovereignty as horse of the year if Sovereignty doesn't win. But I want to hear from you. Again, at HRRN on X, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook. Email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net. Right or wrong? Sound like Nick Zito. Right or wrong? Let me know your thoughts. Busy lineup for you here this morning. Matter of fact, I'm going to bring this question up with my first guest who's going to join me in just about 4 or 5 minutes from right now. That is the pontiff of the Pick 4 himself, Jude Feld. He and Bobby Newman set to make the pilgrimage to Del Mar. They will be live from Del Mar Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday mornings with our Breeders' Cup Countdown shows. 8 to 10 Pacific, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. Podcast afterwards as well. So if you don't catch them live, you can listen to the podcast on our website and on any podcast platform. You can see a complete Breeders' Cup Week schedule on our website right now, horseracingradio.net. Jude will join me in just a few minutes. Kevin Kerstein is going to join me later in the first hour, 8:35 Eastern. We'll talk about opening day at Churchill. Tomorrow we'll look ahead to the rest of the meet. Going to go down the road to the Breeders' Cup to begin hour number 2. That's at 9 o'clock Eastern. You're going to hear from trainer Donnacha O'Brien. His brother Joseph, you know him, rode a Breeders' Cup winner, trained a Breeders' Cup winner. His dad, Aiden, you may have heard of that guy too. Aiden O'Brien, one of the world's premier trainers. Tied at the top of the list with the late D. Wayne Lucas for most Breeders' Cup wins all time. Donnacha O'Brien, the younger brother of Joseph, is really just kind of getting cranked up with his training career. He's ridden in the Breeders' Cup a couple of times. He's trained a couple of horses that have run in the Breeders' Cup. This year he has 3. Havana Anna in the Juvenile Turf Sprint. He has Valentina in the Juvenile Fillies Turf, and Atsilla in the Filly and Mare Turf. Donnacha sat down for almost a full hour with me on Trainer Talk presented by Fasig-Tipton. That show aired yesterday. You can go check out the podcast. But I'm going to bring you part of that show because he spent a lot of time talking about those 3 horses and which horses he feels are his strongest contenders among those 3. And then he took a look ahead to the Tattersall sale, which is coming up in December, where he has Porta Fortuna, a horse he trained, going to be in the sale, maybe the star of the sale. And he spent some time talking about Porta Fortuna, too. So you'll hear from Donnacha coming up 9 Eastern. 9:30, Scott Mallory joins me, coming off of a really another rock-solid sales season for him with the yearling sales. Now he's gearing up for the big sales in November at Fasig-Tipton and Keeneland. We'll talk about that. 9:30. And then 10 o'clock Eastern begins hour 3. The TwinSpires triple play. Kevin Kilroy has 3 races for you to watch and wager on with TwinSpires this afternoon. 10:20, Kurt Becker's weekly Stroll Through Racing History. With Halloween coming up. That Thanksgiving's not far away either, I guess. But with Halloween coming up on Friday, Kurt decided to focus on a horse you may have heard of by the name of Ghost Sapper in his Stroll Through Racing History segment. Those are always so good. This one promises to be fantastic. And then again, 10:30 Eastern, I ask, they answer. Dale Romans, Tim Wilkin will both join me. Lots of things to get to, including our impossible trivia question. Lee Delapina has it for you right now. Lee?
Thank you, Mike. Who was the oldest thoroughbred to ever win a race in North America, and how old was he when he won? No Googling. We'll give out the answer at the end of the show.
Yep, the answer coming up 10:55 Eastern in the final segment of the program here this morning. JT, pontiff of the Pick 4, Jude Feld. He's next on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN, Horse Racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Send your mare to Maryland. After she foals here, breed to one of our stallions, and your 2025 foal is eligible to be a registered Maryland bred, giving you the opportunity to earn significant bonuses. And beginning with 2-year-olds of 2025, Maryland bred and Maryland sired horses will earn 40% higher breeder bonuses than out-of-state sired runners. Maryland, a foundation of greatness, a bright future ahead. Learn more at MarylandThoroughbred.com.
Dear racing fans, we've been waiting for you. We've been working, prepping, training, putting together thrilling races, high stakes, favorite traditions, and fresh experiences. From right on the rail to the top of the hill. Whether it's your first meet or your 50th, we can't wait to welcome you back this fall. Love, Keeneland.
It's time now to shine the spotlight on the Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week.
An Englishman, after a sharp start, easily put away Tagermeen and dazzles on debut.
Englishman, the son of Darley Stallion Maxfield, dazzled in victory by more than 7 lengths on debut at Churchill Downs in mid-September and is now slated for his second start in the Grade 2 Kentucky Jockey Club Stakes at the end of November. A victory which makes him most worthy of being your Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week. Darley Stallion Maxfield. Englishman is one of 15 first crop winners sired by Maxfield, who is currently ranked number 2 among all freshman sires by Progeny Earnings. Maxfield will stay in the 2026 season at a fee of $50,000. Learn more about Maxfield and all the Darley Stallions by visiting DarleyAmerica.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
And they're into the stretch, and Sierra Leone has circled up on the outside to take the lead. Fierceness battles on second, Newgate behind them, Forever Young on the far outside. Sierra Leone, Fierceness digs in, Newgate, Forever Young, Sierra Leone close to home. Sierra Leone does it in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Fierceness was second, Forever Young was third, Newgate fourth, and then came Senor Buscador. Today was the day that he got it done. It was Sierra Leone.
That's Larry Colmus with the call of last year's Breeders' Cup Classic. The rematch among the top 3 now just 1 week away. Should be fantastic. I started the show asking you if any horse in that race can supplant Sovereignty as the likely horse of the year here in 2025. Don't know if it's Sierra Leone. I don't think he's done enough throughout his entire campaign. I told you, for me, it's Mindframe. If he can find a way to win this race, I think he has a legitimate case in that horse of the year debate. But right now, it's Sovereignty's title to lose. I bet you they had one heck of a party after Sierra Leone won the Classic a year ago. And speaking of parties, you can now add Derby and Dance Party video horse racing to your next event. And let me tell you, it's really cool. Really, really cool. It's become incredibly popular with so many major corporations and private house parties, whether you're hosting your own personal horse racing watch party or any kind of party, or you're a company getting ready to plan out those holiday parties for your employees, for your clients. The fully customizable Derby and Dance Party video horse racing is a sure bet winner with your guests, taking your event to a whole new level. You can go to their website. You can see videos of some of their parties. It's really cool. And here's another neat thing. Horse racing knowledge absolutely not required. No party is too large or too small. You can learn more about making your next racing party a Grade 1 winner by visiting derbydanceparty.com. That's derbydanceparty.com. Or you can call them directly to book your party and get more information. 844-MY-PHILLY. 844-MY-PHILLY, the number. or just visit derbydanceparty.com. JT, you in the mood to dance here this morning?
Wow. Hope you don't have to test.
I tell everybody I'm more like, remember Seinfeld with Elaine Bennis? That's more like when I dance. That's kind of what I look like. I got a little leg kick thing going on. You've seen it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've seen it. Yeah, it's interesting,
You're getting ready to dance your way all the way to Del Mar for the Breeders' Cup Countdown shows kicking off on Tuesday.
I'm looking forward to that. I still got 1,000,001 things to do, but yeah, it'll be nice to be where the turf meets the surf for a few days and see all my old friends and hang out with Bobby and do the shows. We always have a good time. So
strong lineup, too. I got a chance to look at some of the guests that we're all putting together for those shows, and as always, plenty of information over the course of those 3 mornings.
Oh, yeah. It's stacked. I mean, everybody likes to come on. They do their best to, get with us for the shows. And so it's always exciting. And then, things happen during the day. Trainers getting busy and they have clients coming and stuff, and we have to adjust on the fly. But that's part of the fun of it. So it'll be a good 3 days and lots to talk about.
I think the Classic is the race that most people are looking forward to. I ran a poll here on the show, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, and asked our listeners which race they were most excited about, and the Classic was a runaway. Likely to give us the horse of the year. I don't think there's much doubt about that, and I think most people are saying it's going to be Sovereignty. But if he doesn't win, am I right on mind frame? Is he the one horse in there that you would say, okay, if he wins the Classic, he has a dog in that fight. He can be horse of the year?
I don't really know about that. It's possible.
Yeah.
You never know how the voters are going to go. We vote for the Eclipse Awards every year, and sometimes you're shocked when you see who people pick. But I mean, Mindframe is a good horse. His last race certainly did not help him any with that situation, losing the rider and all that, and kind of puts a little bit of a cloud on him. But he's been training good at Saratoga, and he's a very nice horse. He should be able to get the 1.25 miles, although that's a question mark still at this point. But we'll see how it goes.
Do you think there is another horse in that race where if Sovereignty wouldn't deliver a winning effort, you would look to that horse and say, okay, he's done enough here in 2025. It's at least a debate as to him being horse of the year?
Well, I mean, if Sierra Leone wins the Classic again, I think you have to seriously look at him. I mean, he really hasn't had a bad year. His races this year have been good. And if he goes back to back, I mean, you'd have to say he's maybe the best horse. I don't know. Sovereignty, my knock on Sovereignty is he's a 3-year-old, and he's been racing against 3-year-olds. And so, I mean, those are restricted races, and that's a little bit different than being wide open. So, I think he makes a good case for himself. Obviously, he's a very talented horse. He's a handsome horse. He looks like the horse of the year when you look at him, but he has been running against 3-year-olds.
You trained horses for many, many years, JT. When a 3-year-old, at this point in the season, sitting here at the end of October, when you get to this point in your 3-year-old campaign, you're 2 months away from unofficially becoming a 4-year-old, right? January 1st. So do we look at 3-year-olds as 3-year-olds at this point in the year? Do you know what I'm saying? Or do you start to look at them as becoming older horses, even though they haven't faced older horses yet?
Well, I mean, I look at 3-year-olds as 3-year-olds. I don't really give them any credit for running when they run against older horses. I actually downgrade them. So maybe that's my, faux pas, but it served me well over the years. Even when you look at maiden races and stuff, a lot of times there's 3-year-olds entered and they have good figures and they look like they can win the race, and then some older horse beats them, and you go, why did I bet on a 3-year-old? I mean, it's just it's just the way it works. I mean, our game is old, and it's been going on like this for a long time. So Sovereignty may be up to the task because he's a fantastic horse. But, when you look at, some of the other horses, even the 3-year-olds that have been facing the older horses like Journalism, I mean, his numbers are pretty solid. And the reason they're so good is because he's been facing some older horses. So Sovereignty's a little bit more, suspect to me than Journalism, who's been tested and proven capable of being right there with the older horses. To me, like, Fierceness is the horse to beat because he's a proven horse. He likes Del Mar. He's older. He's more experienced. And I think now that he's older, he's better than he was when he was younger. I mean, he's always had that flashy ability and the tremendous speed, but he's more seasoned now and more savvy as to what his job is.
Do you think he gets a clear lead in the Classic?
I don't know that it's necessary that he does. I think he could sit, second or third and be just fine. I don't know. It depends on what they decide to do, but they could send him or they could be patient.
Well, the Classic is certainly a race that will draw plenty of attention next weekend. What are some of the other races, JT, or the other storylines that you're going to have your eye on?
Well, I kind of did a little prep, and I don't want to give out a bunch of chalk. So I'll tell you.
Wipe the chalk off your face.
What's that?
Wipe the chalk off your face. Isn't that what we always used to say? Yeah.
That's right. I'm not a big chalk fan. But there's some interesting horses and horses I think maybe overlooked. Like, we'll start Friday with the filly and filly's 2-year-old turf, the juvenile filly's turf. And the horse Ultimate Love interests me a lot. It's Mike Trombetta trainee by Curlin, who's undefeated, 3 for 3. Now, she's run at Colonial and Laurel, so she's not going to attract, a lot of people. They're going to say, well, she didn't face the best and all that, but her numbers are improving. She obviously has ability and a willing spirit, so I think she's an interesting horse to consider. And even if she doesn't win, she might be a big enough price to boost your exotic.
Yeah, that's the thing, too. You get so many good horses on Breeders' Cup days that would normally be favorites or among the favorites, but because there's so many good horses competing, you get good prices on them.
Yeah, and a lot has to do, too, with the Euros. I mean, some of the Euros are really nice. They've won, group races in Europe, and they're obviously very talented. And, the question mark with them is always how did they ship, how are they trained, and that's one of the reasons you want to listen to the preview shows that we do, because we're watching those horses in the morning, and we see every year we see 1 or 2 horses that just like jump off the page at you. They like tell you we are ready, and sometimes there are horses that are not in the mainstream eye. So the next race I thought was pretty cool is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. A lot of eyes there because usually the future Kentucky Derby favorite comes out of that race as a winner. I'm in love with Ted Noffey.
He almost said Ned Toffee.
Yeah, well, him too. He's a sire of sires. So
Who is it?
Yeah, that's right. But Ted Noffey, he's so big and strong and impressive, and he just he gets to the point of the race where he just looks up and goes, okay, I'm going to run by these guys. I mean, he's just really super smart, super sharp horse to me, and I think he's going to be very tough. Now, that being said, I'm petrified of Brandt. Brandt has never gone 2 turns, which is question mark, but he's trained by Bob Baffert, so we're going to give him all the credit he needs to go 2 turns. But he's a very good horse, and you always like to follow the money. I mean, they paid $3 million for him, so how bad could he be? He's shown he can really run, and he's able to sit. He's able to go to the lead. I think he's a really nice horse, and probably the toughest horse Ted Noffey's had to face. But to me, that's the race. But I'm a big Ted Noffey fan.
How about on Saturday? What storylines or horses catch your eye on Saturday, Breeders' Cup Saturday?
Well, the Breeders' Cup Distaff, I really like Gin. I was so
run it back again
with Gin.
Yeah, run it back again from that Spinster Stakes, right?
Oh, it was unbelievable. That was a great race. Got a good number, and she continues to look good in the morning. Train well. She had a bullet work at Keeneland. So I just really like that filly. I think she's coming into her own. She's shown flashes in the past. Maybe not the greatest bred horse in the world, but she's got a spectacular rear end, and she just really has speed and is improving. I like her. If she looks good on the track, I'll definitely be betting on her.
Pontiff of the Pick 4, Jude Feld, here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Again, he's heading to Del Mar. You can catch him and Bobby Newman when they hit the airwaves Tuesday morning with the first of 3 Breeders' Cup countdown shows. That's 8 to 10 a.m. Pacific. They'll be live trackside with special guests, and 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern, and then podcast afterwards. If you don't catch it, there'll be podcast afterwards too. JT, man, I appreciate the visit here this morning, a look inside some of the Breeders' Cup races. I don't want you to give out all your information because you got plenty more to go over the course of those 3 shows, but really appreciate the visit.
Yeah, no, it's been fun, and hopefully somebody can make a little score.
Good luck, buddy.
All right, thanks.
Pontiff of the Pick 4, Jude Feld, pontificating for you on this Saturday morning here on HRRN. Again, check out all of the information on those shows on our website, horseracingradio.net, including the SiriusXM channel information, different channels than you're listening to right now. That's all available for you on our website, horseracingradio.net. All right, when I come back, you're going to hear from Kevin Kerstein. We'll turn our attention to Churchill Downs, their opening day tomorrow, the Rags to Riches, the Street Sense, all part of that program. And he'll look ahead to the rest of the meet as well. That comes up after your Legends of the Turf in this short commercial break.
On June 9, 1956, the field went postward for the running of the $50,000 Argonaut Handicap at Hollywood Park. In the field were Langland Farms' Porterhouse, who had whipped his chief rival in this field, Swaps, by a head in the previous meeting of the 2 in the Californian, the very speedy Bobby Brocato with the master craftsman Johnny Longden in the irons, and, of course, Swaps, who would come off an injury as a 3-year-old to make an attempt at a 3rd world record. Swaps had already notched world records for 1 1/16 miles and 1 mile and 70 yards. The Hollywood Park had been especially groomed to be as fast as a 1-arm paper hanger in a 4-room apartment with a 2-hour deadline. The anticipation was high amongst the patrons on this day for the import of a possible record-breaking performance. Trainer Mish Tenney said flatly and openly that his horse, Swaps, would lower Citation's world mark of 1:33.3 for the flat mile, a record that had stood since 1949. As the horses broke from the starting gate, it was expected that the very speedy Bobby Brocato with Longden in the saddle would go to the front to try to steal it. But Bill Shoemaker got Swaps out of the box like a rocket down along the fence, and he was not about to allow himself to get shut off by the speed horses outside of him going into the turn. Swaps established a clear lead going into the clubhouse turn. Shoemaker realized Longden was resigned to playing the waiting game, settling in just off the pace with Bobby Brocato. Schumacher turned that strategy to his own advantage while keeping lots of horse in reserve, setting the early fractions. Swaps had an open lead all the way down the backside while turning in a 22 3/4, 45 1 for the half, and 108 2 for the first 6 panels. As the field swung through the fire turn in the glistening California sunlight, Longden made his expected move with Bobby Brocato, and with a quick burst of speed got his mount set up to Shoemaker's boot on the leader. The shoe went to the stick, cracking the flank of Swaps with a hard lick, and Swaps responded to again move clear. The Rex Ellsworth-owned 4-year-old held sway during the run down the lane, and all eyes were now on the teletimer, which flashed 1:33.1 as he hit the wire, a new world record. Bobby Brocato had been beaten by barely a length in a supremely game effort, and Porterhouse, in receipt of 9 pounds from Swaps, was 6 lengths further back in third. Swaps had clocked the last half mile in a most impressive 48 flat. It was a third world record he had chalked up, and he was, in no uncertain terms, to be regarded as one of the all-time greats on the racetrack. He was blessed with class, courage, and a tremendous amount of ability, a surefire recipe for greatness. You know, not all fast horses are great, but all great horses are fast, and Swaps was undeniably fast indeed. Many observers on the scene at Hollywood Park on that June day in 1956 felt Swaps could have gone faster if he'd been pushed in the early part of the race, but it was breathtakingly fast as it was. June 9, 1956, at Hollywood Park, in the Argonaut Handicap, the day Swaps set his third world mark.
This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The world's premier breeding stock event, the November sale at Fasig-Tipton. A night of stars featuring over 70 graded stakes winners or producers, and no less than 30 Grade 1 winners or producers. Champions, millionaires, elite producers, and selected weanlings. One catalog, one spectacular session, one star-studded evening with the highest concentration of quality breeding stock anywhere in the world. The Fasig-Tipton November sale, November 3rd in Lexington, Kentucky. Where will you be?
Top consignor Scott Mallory is offering an exciting November lineup, starting at Fasig-Tipton with weanlings by Forte and Gunite, both out of multiple stakes producing female families. At Keeneland, the Scott Mallory consignment features exciting weanlings by Yopon, Jackie's Warrior, Loggins, Zandon, and Taba, as well as mares in foal to first-year sires Seize the Gray, Muth, Kingsbarns, Blazing Sevens, and domestic product, and established sires McLean's Music, Violence, and Authentic. There's something for every buyer at the Scott Mallory November consignments.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
They get to the top of the stretch in the Kentucky Oaks. They turn for home. In the stretch drive, Dreaming of Vanna Shortly. Mystical Plan overhauls her. And here comes on the outside, Rags to Riches. Rags to Riches has kicked it into high gear and accelerates away with authority. Rags to Riches by 2 now. Octaves back up into second, but it's all Rags to Riches. Much the best here.
And Street Sense draws alongside as they move headlong into the final furlong. And Street Sense has roared from 19th position to first in the Derby. Hardspun tries to hold for second, and then farther back in Sedgefield on every given Saturday. And here is Street Sense, a stretch running sensation to win the Derby by 2.
Yeah, a couple of good horses there, huh? Rags to Riches, Street Sense, the late Luke Kreiposh with the call of the Kentucky Oaks. Street Sense winning the Kentucky Derby in 2007. That was Tom Durkin with the call of Street Sense. Those horses remembered tomorrow on opening day of the fall meet at Churchill Downs. Kevin Kerstein joins me now to preview those races and to look ahead to the rest of the meet. KK, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Thanks for having me. That was great to hear Luke's voice to kick off this segment. He's certainly missed in the announcer world.
Wasn't it? Yeah, I know. I spent so many hours hanging out with him in the announcer's booth there at Churchill Downs. He knew my dream job was to become a track announcer, and he tried to help me get into some different racetracks and talk to people for me and try to get my foot in the door somewhere. Just a really good guy, and you're right, he's certainly missed.
Yeah, he was just before me, but just hearing some of the stories that, people like you and Tony Kalo, I know, is really close with him, and hearing, how he would try to help different announcers, get in the door. And then, I feel like Luke and I would have become close friends with how much we are degenerates at the racetrack through the windows. But yeah, he's a great guy. We have a big picture of him down in our office here with Darren Rogers and myself of his programs from the Derby, and a big picture of him. And yeah, he's certainly missed.
The fall meet begins tomorrow. I mentioned those two races, the Rags to Riches, the Street Sense. We'll talk about those. But as part of the fall meet, one of the events you have to talk about is the Claiming Crown, and that takes place on November 15th. And I bring it up because today is the last day to request eligibility for a horse to compete in the Claiming Crown. So if you're thinking about doing it, you got to request eligibility today. You can check it out on the National HBPA website or the Claiming Crown website. Go there and make sure you do that today. It is part of what is going to be an outstanding meet. Lots of things to look forward to, KK.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And, the Claiming Crown is sort of a great addition to this fall meet with, the 26-day meet overall here in the fall season. We sort of open with a big wave with the Stars of Tomorrow 1 card, which we'll have tomorrow. We'll close with Thanksgiving week with so many great races like the $600,000 Clark presented by Norton Healthcare, the Mrs. Revere, Stars of Tomorrow 2 with the Kentucky Jockey Club, and the Goldenrod. And then the Claiming Crown on November 15th, some of the best blue-collar, hard-knocking horses that we've seen in the country and over the past year. And it'll be great to see horses come from so many different areas of the country to convene here at Churchill Downs for that event on Saturday, November the 15th, for those starter allowance-type races with the supercharged purses. And again, as you mentioned, go to claimingcrown.com and be sure to have any of your horses that you are eligible for those races to be sure that they are nominated today with the nominations closing this afternoon.
First post tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern. 11 races slated for the opening day card. We mentioned the two stakes. The Rags to Riches is race number 8. The Street Sense, race number 10. Let's start with the Rags to Riches. Tell me about a couple of the fillies to watch in that race.
It's really sort of Brad Cox's world here in the Rags to Riches, as we've seen over the last couple of years. It's pretty amazing that, Kentucky Oaks winners Monomoy Girl and Good Cheer, who both broke their maidens at Horseshoe Indianapolis and then have come down here to the Rags to Riches and then gone on to win the Kentucky Oaks, and that's sort of been Brad's path. And the race sort of runs through Brad, I believe, tomorrow here in the Rags to Riches, but who has another very impressive looking filly who broke her maiden by more than 14 lengths at Horseshoe Indianapolis earlier this month in Life of Joy. She's the 5-2 morning line choice here in this race. And the daughter of Gunrunner I saw school the other morning in the paddock and is preparing at Churchill Downs. Is she Good Cheer? Is she Monomoy Girl? We'll have to see tomorrow. But, if you necessarily want to try and fade her maiden effort at Horseshoe Indianapolis in her debut, it really could be any one of these fillies races. America the Great for Mark Casse was a gritty maiden winner in the September meet here at Churchill Downs. She'll probably take some attention through the windows. The Grumpy Rabbit finished third in the Alcibiades earlier this month to Tommy Joe and Percy's Bar. So she has some experience in Grade 1 company. So if it's really not Life of Joy, it could be, I think, a number of these fillies here in this race. Race 8 tomorrow goes at 4:25 Eastern time, and part of that road to the Kentucky Oaks prep season, which will award 10 points for the first Friday in May.
If you're picking just based on names, it has to be the Grumpy Rabbit, right?
It's great. Ed Anthony, who owns this horse, of course, we know John Ed Anthony of Arkansas fame, and Ed Anthony, so a great horse racing family, and the Grumpy Rabbit is a great name, and was a maiden winner this summer at Ellis Park and was very impressive winning that day. Might need to get a little bit faster, but she is seems like a pretty solid daughter of Not This Time, who has just been winning everything, dirt, turf, short, long, so it's hard to leave off any Not This Times in your tickets.
The Grade 3 Street Sense will follow that Rags to Riches. Again, 2 races later is race number 10. This, to me, looks like an extremely well-balanced field. Do you agree?
I agree. And, when we were looking through the nominations a couple of weeks ago for this race, we're like, okay, well, if Comport doesn't show up in here, who was faced at Churchill Downs, now going in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. It really could be anyone's race. And Universe was tabbed as the 5-2 morning line choice, and Mike Battaglia and I talked earlier this week, and he's like, it's really hard to make a favorite in this race. Universe, I guess, because he finished third in the Champagne, but aside from Napoleon Solo, I thought in the Champagne, it really could have been, anyone had to finish second, third, fourth, etc. So Universe does have the grade 1 placing, but needs to step it up, I think, in this field, because there's some pretty nice 2-year-old colts in here. I did for Mike Maker, was a maiden winner at the September meet, going 2 turns, so we know he has the 2-turn experience already. Incredible for Riley Mott, again, same experience, has 2 starts under his belt, and now will stretch out to 2 turns for the first time, but you would think son of Bolt Doro out of an Awesome Again mare, that shouldn't be an issue for him. And Ganas is sort of a wild card for me in here, who breaks from post number 2 for Shadwell and Bull McKeever, and he was sprinting in his first 2 starts, and he won a first-level allowance at Churchill Downs going 6 furlongs, but did so very impressively. And I think originally the plan was maybe to run him at Keeneland, but instead Bull McKeever has sat on him and waited for this spot here at Churchill Downs. And I think he could be, if he handles the 2 turns, which he should, as son of Warfront out of a Tappet mare, he is definitely a wild card and might offer a little bit of value if you're gambling at 5-1 on the morning line.
One of the cool things about these Stars of Tomorrow programs is that even if you have a juvenile that's not running in one of those stakes races we just talked about, there are maiden races earlier in the card and allowance races featuring juveniles that in all likelihood are going to give us horses that could be players on the road to the Kentucky Oaks and the Kentucky Derby, even though they're not running as stakes races quite yet. And that's, to me, one of the most intriguing parts of these programs. What other races or horses will you have your eye on?
It's really, for me, on tomorrow's card, it's going through some of these 2-turn maiden special weights. And what's cool about, having the Stars of Tomorrow card on Sunday, we will have the first pool of the Kentucky Derby future wager on Wednesday. So we will have several horses that will be seen tomorrow on the program. In that first pool, the Kentucky Derby Future Wager will span Wednesday through Friday and before the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And specifically, I thought White Tiger for Brad Cox is one that, could stretch out in distance to 2 turns and really, sort of be a horse that would be on the path to the road to the Kentucky Derby. He is in race number 5, owned by Twin Creeks Racing, finished second to Englishman, who Englishman we saw was super impressive, going 7/8 on debut at Churchill Downs in September. And White Tiger just looks like one he wants to stretch out in distance and will do better once he gets around the 2 turns. And then race 2 is a first-level allowance going a 1-turn mile. And in this race, I would assume the winner who we would see in this race would show up in the Kentucky Jockey Club later on in the meet on the closing Saturday. And this is a wide-open field of 7, but I think the winners might be able to show up in that race on the Kentucky Jockey Club in 4 weeks from today. And, you mentioned the star power that we've had on Stars of Tomorrow, Mike, and which was, inaugurated 21 years ago. Doug Bradar was the brainchild of this when he was the racing secretary at Churchill Downs. I mean, Horses of the Year, Gunrunner. You have Rachel Alexandra, Super Saver Mandaloon, Mystic Dan, Believe You Can, Monomoy Girl, Secret Oath, Pretty Mischievous, Torpedo Anna, and of course Good Cheer. As we mentioned earlier on in the segment, they've all made their starts on these Stars of Tomorrow cards. So even if the horses don't win tomorrow, keep an eye on the horses that finish second, third, or fourth, because they could be something great come down the road.
I'm going to stick with my pattern of picking names here on that card tomorrow. I'm a huge fan of the Rocky movies, and it's amazing. Sometimes I'll just pull them up and I'll watch Rocky just to watch him because I like the movies so much, and he keeps winning. I keep waiting for him to get beat, and somehow he pulls it out in the end. There's a horse in race number 7, Kevin, Rocky's Balboa. I'm going to ask our man Dale Romans about this horse when he joins us at 10:30 Eastern for I Ask, They Answer. He's the trainer of Rocky's Balboa. Involved in that ownership group is the owner of the Colorado Rockies, my good friend Jeff Bloom. A horse that ran real well last time out. I don't know if he's good enough to break his maiden, but he certainly appears to be a fit. He's 7-2 on the morning line.
Yeah, he ran fast, too. He got a big speed figure that day. And so
yeah.
I think that he's definitely one. And Dale, his always his line is they're Kentucky Derby contenders until they are not. And he's a son of Gervin, and you never know. He's sprinting, going 6 furlongs. And as Dale, I'm sure he will have the first Saturday in May under his eyes if Rocky Balboa can break through. And really excited for the rejuvenation of Dale Romans. He has a ton of good horses in his barn, especially young horses, and Rocky Balboa is one of them.
Yeah, heading out to the Breeders' Cup with Bobrovsky, too. He ended up on the also eligible list for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. We'll see if he gets in, but he's certainly talented as well.
He definitely is, and it's just a number. It's just so great to see Dale sort of turn his life around the last couple of years, and it's really paying off, I think, right now. And he's got a lot of good, nice horses in barn 4 at Churchill Downs, and we just mentioned 2 of them in Bobrovsky and Rocky Balboa.
Kevin Kerstein with me here on the Horse Racing Radio Network, looking ahead to opening day at Churchill Downs tomorrow, and then a preview of what you're going to see later in the meet. You're the first of 2 KKs joining me on the show here this morning, because Kevin Kilroy is going to be with me at 10 Eastern for the TwinSpires Triple Play.
There's a lot of Ks going on, and Kevin Kilroy will be one of the many expert handicappers that we'll have on the Churchill Downs simulcast feed for the next 26 days for this fall meet. And, 5-day-a-week racing, as you mentioned, first post at 1 o'clock tomorrow, Mike, and that'll be the theme for the entire meet except for Thanksgiving Day, which will be at 11:30 a.m. So 1 o'clock first post. We won't have twilight or night racing for this month-long stand, but we will be able to have some full fields and competitive races before trainers and owners have their horses ship out of town for the winter, or to northern Kentucky at Turfway Park, where we'll have maiden special weight races for $100,000 and allowances up to $106,000.
Unreal. The Dodgers could have used a few of those Ks last night.
They should have. The Blue Jays, man, putting up a 9-bagger.
Yeah, they're freakish when they get rolling, aren't they?
They really are.
How's our man Darren Rogers holding up? He's a huge Dodgers fan.
Well, we were leaving the office yesterday, and he was getting really pumped up for the game, and said, "You gonna have any action on the game?" And he was going back and forth if he wanted to bet the Blue Jays under 2.5 runs. And I'm like, "Oh, under 2.5 runs, that's bold." And he said, "As long as the Dodgers bullpen doesn't get called on too early, I'm very confident in the Dodgers." I think they unfortunately got called on too early last night.
Yeah, well, just one game, a long way to go in that World Series. It's going to be fun to watch, though. I think both of those teams are a lot of fun to tune in and watch.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Phillies couldn't score a run against the Dodgers, or they're sitting in Cabo on vacation.
Yep. So are my Yankees and so are my Reds. I like those 2 teams as well, and no dice for either one of those 2.
That's all right. There's always next year, right?
Exactly.
There's always your Pittsburgh Steelers, right?
Well, there's always them, too. We'll see how that plays out.
Yeah.
Kevin Kerstein here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Kevin, enjoy opening day tomorrow and this fall meet. It's going to be spectacular. I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Mike. Good luck, everybody, and we'll hope to see you out at Churchill here in the next 4 weeks.
There you go. All right, coming up next, I'll get you ready for hour number 2 that is loaded with more Breeders' Cup conversation. We're going to look ahead to the Fasig-Tipton sale and to the Keeneland sale in November. We'll tell you all about that in just a minute when I come back on the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
Woodford Feed, where tradition merges with technology. Family owned since 1940 and providing exceptional customer service, Woodford Feed specializes in the highest quality feed, using only the finest ingredients to ensure optimal nutrition for your horses. In addition, Woodford Feed can help with all your farm needs, including field seed, fertilizer, and weed control. So whether your horse is sprinting around the racetrack or has a foal by her side, count on Woodford Feed to provide the quality nutrition necessary to perform at the highest level. Woodford Feed for Sales, Kentucky.
Did you know? VA home loans are a key to home ownership for those who served.
I would tell anybody who is interested in getting a VA loan to just do it.
For me, the best thing about the VA loan was the simplicity of it. I was expecting, government paperwork, it was going to go on forever, and it just wasn't.
Since the down payment for a VA loan is minimal, we were able to purchase this home and then use the money that we were going to use as a down to actually fix up the home.
And the only way we could do that was because the nest egg that we had saved for the down payment, we didn't have to use because we went the VA route.
This is a wonderful benefit that veterans can take advantage of.
In the military, we make a lot of sacrifices. We're away from our family a lot. And with the VA loan, it's a way that it makes it easier for us to get a home.
To learn more about VA home loans, visit va.gov/home loans.
We have the world at our fingertips, inspiration in our touch, and power in our hands. Our hands, gentle enough to hold the next generation, yet strong enough to build movements that can change the world. Our hands can build relationships, frame ideas, and empower communities. We have the ability to share and imagine, create and comfort, love and heal the world around us. And it doesn't stop there. Right here, in our hands, we have the power to save a life. If you see a teen or adult suddenly collapse, call 911 and push hard and fast in the center of the chest.
The power is in your hands.
Anthem Foundation is the proud national supporter of the American Heart Association's Hands Only CPR campaign.
Hey, this is Bobby Newman. Join Jude, Feld, and me for our Breeders' Cup countdown shows, Tuesday through Thursday of Breeders' Cup week. We'll be broadcasting live from trackside at Del Mar as we speak with jockeys, trainers, owners, and handicappers, as well as bring you up-to-the-minute news leading up to the 2025 World Championships. The Breeders' Cup countdown shows, Tuesday through Thursday of Breeders' Cup week, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. Listen live on Sirius 160, XM 205, or online at horseracingradio.net.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
They're going to have to turn this one into a sprint for home now. It is still await the dawn, the leader. Let's see who's the first to make a move. Here comes Brilliant Speed now. Brilliant Speed on the outside. Dean's Kitten between them. Seraphina's traveling nicely right behind them. And Sea Moon crying out for who? Sea Moon hooks to the grandstand side with a white face. Here comes Sea Moon now. But got first runners Brilliant Speed. Brilliant Speed down the center. St. Nicholas Abbey with a late run. Seraphina could not quicken with him, is trying to come on late, but it's St. Nicholas Abbey. St. Nicholas Abbey, history in the making. St. Nicholas Abbey, Joey O'Brien for his father, Aidan O'Brien. History is made. St. Nicholas Abbey wins. Second will be Sea Moon. Third will be Brilliant Speed.
Great call from Trevor Denman. That was the 2011 running of the Breeders' Cup Turf, St. Nicholas Abbey. And again, that history with Joseph O'Brien riding for his father, Aidan O'Brien. Aidan tied with the late Dwayne Lucas for most wins in Breeders' Cup history. He's going to look to add to that coming up next weekend, as is one of his other sons, Donnacha O'Brien, who you're going to hear from in just a few minutes to kick off hour number 2. We go down the road to the Breeders' Cup. I had the chance to spend almost a full hour with Donnacha on Trainer Talk presented by Fasig-Tipton yesterday. And if you missed it, you can go back and listen. He had some wonderful things to say about being raised in that family, competing against his father and his brother now. And Donnacha was a jockey and did really, really well as a jockey, but he knew he was too tall. He was going to outgrow it. So training horses was the next step for him. And here he is with 3 horses in the Breeders' Cup next week, and he'll tell you all about that to kick off hour number 2 momentarily. You're also going to hear from consignor Scott Mallory, who is wrapping up another rock-solid yearling sales season. We'll talk to him about where the yearling market is. It was a strong yearling sales season. We'll talk to him about that, and we'll look ahead to the November sales at Fasig-Tipton and Keeneland coming up at 9:30. 10 o'clock Eastern, the TwinSpires Triple Play. Kevin Kilroy has 3 races for you to watch and wager on later today. Kurt Becker, Stroll Through Racing History, that fun story about Ghost Sapper ahead of Halloween coming up next Friday. And that comes up at 10:20, and at 10:30, Dale and Tim with I Ask, They Answer. Poll question for you this morning. Will a loss in the Breeders' Cup Classic keep Sovereignty from being voted Horse of the Year? He's definitely 3-year-old champion. No doubt about that. He's the leader for Horse of the Year, I think, in most people's opinions. But if he gets beat in the Breeders' Cup, will that keep him from being voted Horse of the Year? So far, 41% of you say it depends on who beats him. And I agree with that. Earlier, you heard me talk with Jude Feld, Pata for the Pick 4. We were talking Is it mind frame? In my opinion, I think it's mind frame. I think he's the horse that if he ends up winning the Breeders' Cup Classic and upsetting that race, remember, at one point, mind frame was considered the best older horse in training. We were looking at him after his big wins earlier this season saying, okay, we have the leader in that division. Well, then the Jockey Club Gold Cup, everything falls apart for him. Literally losing his rider. Thank goodness everybody came out of that race okay. You draw a line through that, and he's been brilliant. And if he can be brilliant again against the best horses in training in the Breeders' Cup Classic, in my opinion, I think Mindframe is a horse that has a legitimate case to be Horse of the Year. Jude said he feels like it's Sierra Leone. If he can back up his title in winning the Breeders' Cup Classic a year ago and do it again, he feels like he would have a solid case to be made for Horse of the Year. But I want to hear from you. You can go to @HRRN on X to weigh in on our poll question. You can do it on Facebook, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, or email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net, to let me know your thoughts on that poll question here this morning. Hey, if you're going to be in Lexington for those sales I just mentioned, or to visit a horse farm, or you're going to be there later today for closing day at Keeneland, and you want an incredible meal after you finish up at the races, or after you finish at the sales, or for any occasion, stop by Tony's of Lexington. I was just there. I was there with the Pontiff of the Pick 4 the other night. He and his beautiful wife, Gretchen. We had a great time, great meal. The food was incredible. I deviated, though, which I normally don't do. Nothing good comes to deviation, but I did, and it turned out okay. I always get the Sir Barton, which is this incredible New York strip that Tony's has. It's my favorite steak on the menu. I've had them all. That's the best, in my opinion. My wife loves the filet. This time they had a tomahawk on the menu. So I split it with Jude's wife. I could have eaten the whole thing. It was so good. Incredible. They had that for a limited time. Go check them out, Tony's of Lexington. They are right behind Rupp Arena on Main Street. Get your reservations now. They will take care of you. You'll enjoy it. I promise you that. You'll have a great meal. All right, Hour 2 comes your way next, right after this 10-second pause for station identification. This is the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
Is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
1 hour down, 2 to go here on this pre-Breeders' Cup edition of the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Welcome back. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, with you until 11 a.m. Eastern. Lots of content coming your way. Just told you about that to wrap up Hour 1. If you missed any portion of the first hour of the program, all you have to do is head back to our website after I wrap things up at 11 o'clock, and you can listen to the podcast whenever you have some time. And that's not just this show. You can listen to podcasts of all of our programs whenever you have a little time. Just visit horseracingradio.net or follow us on your favorite podcast platform and listen to all of our shows every single week, including the Breeders' Cup Countdown programs, which come your way Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday morning, live from Del Mar. Jude, Feld, Bobby Newman will be back together again. They'll visit with owners and breeders and trainers and jockeys, handicappers, all to get you ready for the Breeders' Cup World Championships. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday morning, 8 to 10 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern, and podcast afterwards. Do not miss them. They are critical to getting you ready for the Breeders' Cup. Impossible trivia question for you here this morning. If you missed it at the top of the show, here it is. Who was the oldest horse to ever win a race in North America? And how old was he, there's a hint for you, when he won? Answer comes your way, 10:55 Eastern, final segment of today's program. Challenge yourself, no Googling, see if you can get it right here on this Saturday morning. Okay, yesterday I had the chance to spend almost a full hour with trainer Donnacha O'Brien, and it was a really, really cool visit. He joined me from Ireland in advance of flying to the Breeders' Cup at Del Mar, and we talked about the 3 horses he has running in the Breeders' Cup this year, He also looked ahead to the Tattersall sale in December, and Porta Fortuna, who is maybe the star of that sale, is a horse he trained. He talked about Porta Fortuna as well. But here he is, Donnacha O'Brien, going down the road to the Breeders' Cup, talking about his trio of contenders this year.
Yeah, she's a nice 2-year-old filly. She's probably my best chance of the three. She's a filly that's progressed really well throughout the season. Her latest start, she was second in the Group 1 Cheveley Park over 6 furlongs, second to my dad's filly, True Love, who also might show up in the same race. But, she's a very progressive filly. She's by Havana Grey. We bought her as a yearling from Goff Sorby last year. As I said, she's a filly that's progressed with each run. She's been beat a few times, but with every run, she's progressed. We stepped her back to 5 furlongs a few starts ago, and that seemed to bring her to a new level of form. And then went back to 6 furlongs for her latest start. She's quite a fast filly, so I think the 5 around Delmar will suit her. She's probably going to be, I'd imagine, in the first 3 or 4 in the betting. She's a highly rated filly, so as I said, we think she's probably our best chance of the 3. I suppose you need a good draw on Delmar, so I think if we had a good draw and get a clean trip, I think she's the one that has a big shot.
Donnacha, when you start to work with these young horses, do you immediately start thinking about races like the Breeders' Cup and some other premier races that you're going to target, or does the horse have to show you they belong at that level?
Yeah, I think so. To be honest, some trainers seem to be able to say the second they start working a horse that this one is special or that one is special. I don't personally think I'm that way. When I bring in a bunch of whatever amount of 2-year-olds, I think that they're all champions, and one by one they'll probably start to disappoint you or start to show their limitations. So I like to see them go and do it before you can say for sure. She's a filly that she's a good example. We brought her in. She was a nice, strong filly. She's good physical and good mental, but it took her a while to get it together. I probably wouldn't have, at one stage during the season, I probably wouldn't have had her in my top 22-year-olds, and with each race and with each bit of work she progressed, and it looks like she's going to finish the year probably my highest rated 2-year-old. So I don't ever look at them too much at home. I don't work them too hard. So what I see on the track is probably, when I ask them to do a bit on the track, it's probably the first time that I've had a proper look under the bonnet. So I think to answer your question more directly, I think I like to see them do it on the track, and then gradually progress them from there, rather than getting carried away too much at home, really, I think.
What have you seen from Valentina that leads you to believe she deserves a shot in the juvenile fillies turf?
Yeah, Valentina's again, she's a filly that's not a huge home worker. We brought her to the Curragh first time out, second time out, kind of thinking that she'd run a nice race, but she went and won a very competitive maiden at the Curragh, which will be our premier racetrack. Then she went to Royal Ascot and ran really well, and the Albany she was third. So she's a filly that brings quite a high level of form. She disappointed a little bit last time out, but we'd had a lot of rain that day, and I don't think she likes soft turf. So I think we're going up to a mile, but again, I think she'll love the surface. I think she'll like the turns, and I think she's a filly that even on ratings she looks like she has a bit to find. I think she's one that the conditions will suit really well, and I could see outrunning whatever her likely odds are going to be.
How much does the turf condition in Southern California play into your decision when you start looking at the horses you think are going to fit in the Breeders' Cup? You mentioned that Valentina maybe doesn't like soft turf. You're not likely to get that at Delmar.
No, and I think it's as much the speed of the races that's kind of dictated by obviously the firm turf. I think you need a horse that has pace, or at least pace in Europe to even lie up in the races in the US. That your gate speed is so much quicker than ours, and maybe the first 2 furlongs, it's so much quicker than the pace we're used to in Europe, and it's in my opinion, it's all speed-based racing, whereas in Europe it's a bit more stamina-based. You want to be showing your best in Europe, kind of at the finish. You need to be a very strong finisher, whereas in the US, in my opinion, it seems that just as important to be able to jump and travel and get a position early. So I think when we're looking at horses to take to the US, it's as much that they can suit the races tactically, and those tactics are important because of the firm turf. Even more so maybe than just the going conditions, how they move and stuff like that.
Valentina is owned by Medallion Racing, Parkland Thoroughbreds, and Dean Reeves Thoroughbred Racing. Those are the same ownership group that brought you to the Breeders' Cup a couple of times with Porta Fortuna. Talk to me about that relationship.
Yeah, Porta Fortuna is a filly that my parents bred. She won the first time out at the Curragh, and then the current ownership partnership bought her after that. So that's Medallion Racing, Steve West and Barry Fowler and Dean Reeves, and I've got to know all of them basically through her. So obviously she was an incredible filly for us, taking us all around the world and won 4 Grade 1. So she was the one that started that relationship with all them. And I've got to know everyone through her, and they're all fantastic people and really good to train for. And I've had horses for all 4 of those separate entities in various partnerships that have come from her, and they've all bought yearlings and reinvested in me. Thankfully. So that's been fantastic. And she was a very important filly for us. As much to win those races as to forge those relationships, and I'm very grateful to her, I suppose.
The final of the 3 horses you'll send out in this year's Breeders' Cup comes in the filly and mare turf. That's Atsila. Tell me a little bit more about her.
Yeah, she's a filly I bought as a yearling, and then Barry Fowler bought her off me. She won a maiden first time up this year. On her first start, she didn't run at 2 and then won a Grade 3. She's performed really well at Grade 1 level since then. And Medallion Racing bought into her this year after she had won a Grade 3. So she's been a very solid, consistent filly. She was 3rd in the Grade 1 Matron Stakes 2 starts ago. It'll be her first try at any distance further than a mile, but again, as I said, I think probably it's not as stamina based in Del Mar as what it will be say over here on straight track. So I think there's probably a good chance she'll be able to get the trip well. So she's in good form. Again, she's probably going to be one of the outsiders in the field, but would be hopeful that with a nice trip that she could outrun her odds and give her owners a good run for their money.
As you would expect in any of these Breeders' Cup turf races, there's a good likelihood you're going to be competing against your father, Aidan O'Brien, who is one of the most legendary trainers in the history of the sport in any country around the world. What's it like to compete against your dad, especially on the big stage like this?
Yeah, it's tough. It's very difficult, as I'm sure everyone that has tried it has found out. But it's good fun as well to compete against him and Joseph. It's good fun. We all get on very well together, and I think we all understand how tough this sport is. And so if either of the others win or they do well, we're always very happy for them. Obviously, my dad he's the toughest one to beat. So myself and Joseph we're doing our best to beat him the whole time, and he's our target in many ways. We want to be as good as him and have our horses compete as well as he does. So he's a great role model, and he's a big help for advice and anything that we want from him. But at the same time, we're very competitive, and it's fun and it's tough to beat him. But it is what it is. It's what we've always known, and he's what we look up to.
Donnacha, I'm going to shift gears here just a little bit, because you have had a lot of success with horses that come from Tattersalls, and Tattersall's a sponsor of ours here on the Horse Racing Radio Network, and my goodness, that they just continue year in and year out to have success, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. We were in Tattersall's last week trying to buy yearlings, and they do an incredible job with Tattersall's. They we always find some really nice yearlings there that we can bring home and train, and they consistently turn up with good horses, and then obviously we have Porta Fortuna, and we have some other nice fillies as well going to their December sale in December. So, they're a very professional organisation, and we're really, it's going to be mixed feelings, of course, but we're looking forward to seeing Porta Fortuna sell there in December. It's going to be, I think quite a special occasion. It's very rare that you see a filly of her achievements and her calibre go through the ring in training. So the owners and everyone sat down and decided that the best place to do that was at Tattersall. So again, it's going to be a huge occasion.
I'm so glad that you mentioned the emotional side of it. And as you did, I was thinking about the one time that I was standing with my good friend Buff Bradley at the Keeneland sale when his champion groupie doll was sold to Mandy Pope. And the emotions, and I just stood back and watched, but the emotions running through Buff and his team, and the tears started flowing as the bids continued to go up. You're saying goodbye to a horse that meant so much to your career and so much to your family, but you also know she's going on to something bigger down the road. Same thing with Porta Fortuna, right?
Yeah, I guess I think it probably won't really hit me until she's in the ring. But she's a filly that we've had since we bred her, so I've seen her since she was born, since she was a foal, and then came to me as a yearling. So, and then obviously she's been probably the most important horse for my career for various different reasons. She was an incredible filly. She is an incredible filly. So, in some way it will be nice that when she goes through the ring and hopefully she'll sell well. It will be I guess it will show what my team has done with the filly to be able to turn her into a yearling into the value of whatever she makes. So in some ways it'll be very satisfying, and obviously it'll be great for her owners that hopefully she'll sell well and they'll be able to get something out of it, having supported me and putting trust in my team. So that part of it will be satisfying, and then at the same time it'll be bittersweet because we'll be losing her, more than likely. So to see her go again will be a bit, it'll be tinged with sadness, of course. But I'm sure wherever she goes, she's going to be looked after very well. So look, I guess it's something I'm kind of looking forward to because it's been on the horizon for a while. So, it's something that, as I said, it'll be a big day, and, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens.
She is a multiple Group 1 winner. She has earned more than $1.7 million in earnings throughout her career. When did you first realize that Porta Fortuna could be different than an ordinary horse?
Well, she always worked like a nice filly as a 2-year-old, but you never, again, as I said, you never know that these fillies are going to go on to achieve great things. And she won first time out, and then we obviously sold her to the current ownership, and then she won a Grade 3, and you think, okay, it could be a really nice filly, and then she went and she won at Royal Ascot, and then you think, okay, she could be a special filly. And then she actually beat a few times, and then we went to the Group 1 Cheveley Park back in Trip, and she went and won very impressively. And then she went to America, and I was second there. So kind of at that stage we thought, she was a very good 2-year-old, and what she achieved was fantastic, and all that kind of stuff. But I suppose what makes her so rare is that she then came out as a 3-year-old, and actually I think kind of exceeded everybody's expectations. And that she seemed to improve even so much at 3, and then she won her 3 Grade 1s on the bounce after her second in the Guineas, and to become Cartier champion 3-year-old filly. Those horses are so rare, and we're very, very lucky to have had her.
She's going to be consigned by TaylorMade at that December sale, and we know TaylorMade here in the States, so much success at the sales year in and year out. She's going to be joined by a couple of your other trainees too, including Atsila, who we talked about earlier, going in the Filly and Mare Turf. Would be nice to have an update to that page, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, she's a very good filly as well. She's well bred. She's a half sister to another multiple graded stakes winner. She's a good-looking filly, and she's ever ran it too. So she's a filly we feel has a lot of mileage left on the clock. She's still quite unexposed. She's been placed in a Grade 1, and she's a Grade 3 winner. So again, we think she's an exciting prospect going forward. So hopefully she'll sell well, and she as I said, she's a very exciting filly for TaylorMade to be consigning as well.
Yeah, there's another horse that you trained by the name of Sharpen, who was also part of that TaylorMade consignment. Tell me a little bit about Sharpen.
Yeah, Sharpen's she's a beautiful, big, fast and rock filly. She's a filly we always thought quite a lot of. She's a big, tall girl, and she's one that we think is going to be a lot better next year. So, we were weren't sure whether we sell her this year or wait another year with her, as we think she's going to be a really, really nice 4-year-old. She's stakes placed, and she won a maiden at the Curragh. So, she's raised in the 90s, but I think with her, the whole thing is the future. We think she's going to really progress next year when she fills her frame, but, she's very well bred. I think anyone looking for a broodmare, all around the world are looking for these fast and rocks. She's an incredible broodmare sire, and unfortunately they're not making any more of them. So we think she's a really exciting prospect to be bringing to the sales. She's beautiful physically. She's already achieved quite a high level of form on the track, and I think whatever she has done this year, she's going to be much better next year.
Donnacha, it's been a few years since we've seen TaylorMade with a consignment at Tattersall's. We're starting to see a lot of American buyers now making their way to Tattersall's to purchase horses, and it's wonderful to see. We talked earlier about your American partnership that was involved with Porta Fortuna. When you step back and you look at the sales scene at Tattersall's and throughout Europe, what things are you seeing? What trends?
Yeah, well, I think probably what Philip for Medallion Racing and his various partners are doing is they're buying fillies in Europe at the likes of Tattersall's, and they're giving them to me to train. I think in Europe, because of the way we train and our surfaces, I think as babies they it's a lot easier on their joints and on their legs, and I think you probably have a good higher percentage of horses getting to the track. So give them to me for their 2-year-old career, and then we reassess. Do we send them to the US, which is the ultimate goal, and a filly that's another example of that is Lush Lips that we had as a 2-year-old decided to go to the US, and she's now a Grade 1 winner in the US, which is, obviously I was delighted to see that the system is working. And then some fillies we might be, if they don't quite reach that level, we might sell them at a horse in training, or we might keep them till they're 3 or 4 and then decide to send them to the US. So I think just the system on them as 2-year-olds is easier on them, and it gives, I think probably there's better value at some of our European sales, maybe compared to some of the US sales as well. You can buy really well-bred fillies that are good physicals for maybe not crazy money, and maybe leaving them in Europe for their 2-year-old career allows you to assess them and probably keep them a bit sounder early on in their career. So Philip has done a fantastic job, and himself and Mark McStay and myself, we try and buy a few of these fillies, and touch wood, it seems to be working really, really well so far over the last year or so.
Yeah, put me there with you at the sales, Donnacha. How does it work? Are you? I assume you're always in direct contact with the potential buyer, with your client, but are you the one who's actually making the horses come out, take a look at them, and giving your advice, or are you kind of sitting back and saying, okay, you guys have purchased several horses, you know what you're looking at, let me just be here as a consultant?
Well, I think it depends on the client or the owner how they want to go about it. I myself work the sales very hard with my brother Joseph. We try and split up the sale and see pretty much every horse ourselves, and then we make a short list of the ones we like. And then with the likes of, say, Medallion Racing, Mark McStay also does selection for the yearlings, and we'd be in contact, and we cross-reference on horses that we both liked. And Philip Shelton of Medallion would also be at the sales, and we'd converse and come up with horses that we all liked. And then for other clients, I'd often buy horses on spec and then see if anyone's interested. One of the things that I'm quite proud of this year is that all three of my fillies going to the Breeders' Cup I bought myself for less than $100,000. Obviously, Valentina was with Mark McStay of Avenue Bloodstock as well. And both of the other fillies, I think, were about 60 or 65 grand that I bought myself. So to see them progress and go on to things like just even be able to compete at somewhere like the Breeders' Cup is something I'm quite proud of, and shows that our selection process is working.
That's fantastic. What did you see in Havana Anna early on that led you to pull the trigger there?
Yeah, I suppose herself and Axel are actually quite similar types physically, even though they're different types of pedigrees. I think when you're trying to buy at maybe the not the top end, you have to forgive certain things. One thing that I really need to see is they have to have strength and they have to have some kind of motion. One thing my dad always drilled into me was they have to have a good hind leg. He was very unforgiving for things like that. So I think they have to have strength. They have to have a good shape. Everything has to make sense for the horse. I'll forgive maybe certain things for a horse that's bred to be a stayer that I won't forgive for a horse that's meant to be a sprinter. Everybody likes different things in horses, but I grew up listening to my dad, speak about this kind of stuff, and as I said, it's nice to see that the horses that we're buying for not crazy money are being able to compete at such a high level, because it shows that what we're doing is working, and it's not just because we're getting the best bred horses. So that is something I'm quite proud of.
And you certainly should be, my friend. That's wonderful. All the best in the Breeders' Cup. It has been, Donnacha, such a delight to catch up with you and to hear your story, look back on your career as a rider and your career now as a trainer. And I know that there are big things ahead, maybe even at this year's Breeders' Cup. So all the best with your three runners in the Breeders' Cup this year.
Thanks very much, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
Well, and if you were a little lost at the beginning of that particular interview, when Donnacha started talking about the horse he felt was his best chance to win a Breeders' Cup race this year, that was Havana Anna, who is going in the juvenile turf sprint. He feels like of his three, that may be his best opportunity to win, Havana Anna in the juvenile turf sprint. You can listen to the full conversation. There was so much more that we got into in that nearly hour-long conversation on Trainer Talk yesterday. Head back to our website, check out the podcast, do it too on your favorite podcast platform. There's no doubt that Donnacha O'Brien is going to have his name alongside his brother Joseph and his father Aidan as Breeders' Cup winners at some point. You heard him talk about when he gets into talking about the backing that he's had since going out on his own, the relationships that he and his family have established. It's really fascinating, and I think you're going to see him have a lot of success on the international stage, not just here in the States, but all over the world. Really, really sharp trainer and sharp horseman, Donnacha O'Brien. My thanks to him and I hope you enjoyed that conversation, by the way, because he's going to be prominent next weekend at the Breeders' Cup. All right, when I come back, I'm going to turn our attention to talking about the sales side of things. I'll do that with consignor Scott Mallory. He joins me next on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Will you accept the Breeders' Cup Challenge? The chance to compete against the best in the world? The chance to race for a piece of over $34 million in purses and awards? The chance to be a champion. Winning a Breeders' Cup Challenge Series race gives you the chance to do just that, with an invitation to horse racing's biggest event of the year, the Breeders' Cup World Championships in Del Mar, where finish lines become the start of a legacy and starting gates shine on the world stage. Win a Breeders' Cup Challenge Series race and earn an automatic starting position in a Breeders' Cup race. Entry fees paid by the Breeders' Cup, a Nominator Award of $10,000, travel awards, and so much more. Here, winning a Challenge Series race is just the beginning. View the schedule of Challenge Series races happening around the world and learn more at breederscup.com/challenge.
Dear racing fans, we've been waiting for you. We've been working, prepping, training, putting together thrilling races, high stakes, favorite traditions, and fresh experiences. From right on the rail to the top of the hill. Whether it's your first meet or your 50th, we can't wait to welcome you back this fall. Love, Keeneland.
Top consignor Scott Mallory is offering an exciting November lineup, starting at Fasig-Tipton with Weanlings by Forte and Gunite, both out of multiple stakes producing female families. At Keeneland, the Scott Mallory consignment features exciting Weanlings by Yopon, Jackie's Warrior, Loggins, Zandon, and Taba, as well as mares in foal to first-year sires Seize the Gray, Muth, Kingsbarns, Blazing Sevens, and domestic product, and established sires McLean's Music, Violence, and Authentic. There's something for every buyer at the Scott Mallory November consignments.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
With a quarter to go at Pimlico, and leading the way is Seize the Gray. Seize the Gray trying to lead them all the way. Seize the Gray, and here's Mystic Dan tipping to the outside. Mystic Dan's coming with a run at the 360s, but still in front of Seize the Gray. Seize the Gray and Jaime Torres in front. Mystic Dan, Brian Hernandez Jr. catching Freedom on the outside with a late bid. It's Seize the Gray in front by 2, shifting out a little bit under left-handed pressure as they're close to home in the Preakness. Seize the Gray. Oh, Jaime Torres seized the day to win the 149th running of the Preakness with Mystic Danner catching Freedom. And then it was Tuscan Gold Just Steel, Uncle Heavy, followed by Imagination and Mugatu.
My man Dave Rodman with the call of Seize the Gray, winning the Preakness Stakes for the late Hall of Famer D. Wayne Lucas. Boy, was he good that day. He was good in a lot of his races, but that was fantastic. Welcome back to the program. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch. Happy to have you with me on this Saturday morning. We are shifting gears now to the sales side of things. You have the Fasig-Tipton Night of Stars sale coming up right after the Breeders' Cup. You also have the Keeneland November yearling sale getting ready to kick things off after Breeders' Cup, after that Fasig-Tipton sale as well. Seize the Gray is a horse who is now retired to stud and super highly regarded. And Scott Mallory has a couple of mares that are in foal to Seize the Gray that he is offering at the Keeneland November sale. One of those by Corinthian, a Breeders' Cup winner. So it's appropriate on this particular weekend that Scott joins me, tying into Breeders' Cup, tying into the sales, a lot of things going on in the industry. Scott, good morning.
Morning, Mike.
Listen, this Seize the Gray, I loved watching him run. He was all heart. And you have a lot of brood mares you're going to be offering in that November sale. You have a lot of weanlings, too. We're going to talk about some of those. But start with those 2 mares that you have that are in foal to Seize the Gray.
First out is, Athenian Beauty. She's the dam of Speed King, and he made a good run last year by Volatile, great, grade 3 winner. And she's produced a few other winners as well. She's a nice, decent-sized mare. And the other mare will be Determined Sale. She's a half to grade 1 place, Philip My Dear. So some pretty exciting pedigrees in fold of that new sire.
No, there's no doubt about it. And there are other top sires that you are going to be showcasing with some of those other brood mares. Horses like Forte, Violence, with mares being in foal to them. Domestic Product, who's, I know, getting a lot of hype and is very exciting too.
Yes, and that adds to the excitement of the November sales, is these young mares in foal to some of these new sires, and also some of the weanlings that are by the new sires. And it's an exciting time of the year. It's kind of like a reset. We come out of the yearling sales, and everybody sees those, and then we jump into the weanling season and the mare season, and it's just kind of a reset to let us know that the next crop's coming quick.
Yeah, you just turn the page, and it just keeps on rolling. Let's talk about the yearling season that just wrapped up. You, again, come out of those yearling sales after having rock-solid sales with all your consignments. Where are we with that yearling sales scene right now in the industry?
You know, everybody talks about, you know, the market being polarized, and it is, and it has been for a long time. It's, you know, good horses sell really well, and the bad horses don't. And, you know, the middle ones have always been up and down, and, you know, there's still some buyers for those middle horses. You know, the buyers we always need more buyers. In any kind of business, you always need more end user buyers, and the horse business is no different. You know, I think the yearling sales were strong. I mean, starting in July, and then that amazing Saratoga sale up there. And then you jump into Keeneland, and Keeneland set records. You know, they were setting records by book 3. And, you know, I think it makes for a strong weanling market coming up. And with all the tax incentives going on right now, that always helps too.
Yeah, explain that a little bit more, Scott, because there might be people that hear you say that and say, okay, what do you mean by tax incentives? How does that benefit me? Talk a little bit about that.
Well, just I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but just as more deductions for buying horses now, and you can take off 100% of the deductions right off the bat, and it just makes it a little easier with your accountant when you go in there and show him how much you spend on horses.
Yeah, I'm sure. One thing that we see a lot of is major partnerships teaming up to create a major partnership, major buyers teaming up to create a major partnership. And they spend a lot of money at the sales, which is wonderful. If I'm a buyer that is looking to get into the game and become a new owner, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'll buy a couple of yearlings, but my budget isn't on par with some of those bigger players, is there still an opportunity for me?
Yes, I mean, there's an opportunity at all levels. I like the partnership things, and there's partnerships not only at the high end, there's partnerships at the lower levels too. And, you know, I like the partnership thing because maybe you can put in some money and spread it over a couple of horses because, as we know, you know, horses, they have incidents and things happen. They get sick or get injured and have to have time off. So if you can spread it over a couple of horses, but there's a place for everyone. And, you know, the at the top end, the buyers getting together like that, it really makes for exciting sales for some of those top horses. And at the lower levels, you see some people getting in now at the lower levels a little bit more, especially with the My Race horse thing and everything like that. Some of those people are branching off and saying, hey, I want a little more, you know, action for myself. So they're getting into some smaller partnerships.
Yeah, and I've always said that, you know, you don't have to go to the sales and spend $1 million on a horse. Quite often we see horses that are selling in that $15,000 to $20,000 to $25,000 range that go on and become top-class runners in graded stakes, and it happens every single year.
Yeah, it always happens. I mean, we always say the horses don't know how much they cost. You know, yeah. I mean, and talent comes from everywhere. And a lot of times you'll see these mares that they'll throw a grade 1 winner and they've had 3 or 4 foals that haven't done anything, or they didn't do much on the track. You'll have 2 blank dams and then all of a sudden jump up. But, you know, it's just like any other kind of livestock, you know, it's a little easier when you're playing at the top, you know. Well, it's never easy, but when you've got good pedigrees, there's good pedigrees for a reason, and those a lot of times go on and produce and run and stuff like that. But you'll get some horses for $25,000, $30,000 that jump up there and win grade 1s.
We mentioned that in your November consignments at both Fasig-Tipton and Keeneland, you'll have the mares that are in foal to some first-year sires and then more established sires, but you also have a wide selection of weanlings. What's different when a buyer comes by looking at weanlings as opposed to yearlings? Do they look at them a little bit differently?
Yes. a lot of the weanling market is driven by pin hooking. So they're coming by and they're looking. Some people come and look and they want to buy the prettiest horse in the book. They want to buy the prettiest horse of the day. But a lot of those really good pin hook guys, they come by and see a horse that may be a little bit behind, or they have to make some improvement to it to really get that top dollar as a pin hooker. Or they're looking. The weanlings are a little different because most of them, they've got their winter coats on. They're a little bit fluffy, and that's the way you want them because you take them home and turn them out. Our yearlings look like show horses. They're slick and fit and everything else, but the weanling, you got to have a little different eye to pick out the weanlings.
I've always compared the horse sales to being like the NFL draft. You're trying to predict which athletes are going to progress and make that transition from college to the NFL, for example. Same thing here. You're trying to figure out, especially with those weanlings like you just described, which ones are going to develop into a good yearling, a good 2-year-old in training, right? Which horses have that ability? And I don't know if it's an exact science by any means, but you just kind of have to take your best shot with what you're seeing in front of you.
Yes, and I mean, it's good when you're looking at weanlings. You want to see some uniformity in the crop, like if you look at a Forte, and everybody said, well, that's a nice Forte, but you kind of want all of them to be nice to attract buyers as yearlings and stuff like that.
That makes sense. So let's talk about the weanlings you're going to have at Fasig-Tipton right after Breeders' Cup. You have weanlings by Forte and by Gunite, both of those out of multiple stakes producing female families. Tell me more about those two. I told you, he loves those horses. Can't say enough about him. We'll get Scott back on the line here momentarily. I'll ask him that question again. Yeah, interesting to get into that conversation with the weanlings and the yearlings and what you're looking for and trying to predict who's going to develop into that flashy 2-year-old or who may eventually become a really good racehorse. Really good stuff from Scott Mallory. He's back with us now. Scott, I was asking about the two weanlings you're going to have at Fasig-Tipton by Forte and by Gunite, and both of those out of multiple stakes producing female families. Tell me a little bit more about those two.
Well, the Forte is a really sleek looking filly, and she's out of a deep family, with Flagrant in there being a great producer. And it's the same thing with the Gunite. It's out of a mare by the name of Miss Henny Penny, and she's the dam of the Sky is Falling, who's the winner of over $400,000, and that mare just went over the $1 million mark in progeny earnings. So those are pretty exciting babies. And for the Fasig-Tipton thing, I really like it if you've got a really nice baby to showcase. I know it's a mare sale and everything, but there's always some really nice babies in that sale that come out and do well the following year as yearling sale horses.
The Fasig-Tipton sale followed quickly by the Keeneland November sale. How do you determine which horses you want to offer at each of those sales?
It's kind of it's a toss-up. I mean, like you said before, there's no exact science to this. A lot of times we pick horses for the Fasig-Tipton sale. I like to take some new sires over there just because if they're really nice, they'll showcase that new sire, like a Gunite or something like that. Last year we took a Jackie's Warrior over there that was really nice, and it showcased that stallion as well. And there's not as many, and it kind of gives people a preview to what they're going to see over at Keeneland, and if they sell well at Fasig-Tipton, then it usually carries on over to the next week at Keeneland.
That's interesting. Scott Mallory, my special guest here on the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires. Your Keeneland consignment, sticking with the weanlings, features weanlings that are by Yopon, Jackie's Warrior, who you just mentioned, Loggins, Zandon, and Taba. And like you said, if they can do well at Fasig-Tipton, that momentum really carries over to Keeneland. Those are some big names I just mentioned.
Yeah, they're very exciting, and we always have a good group of new sires, weanlings by new sires, and they're all strong. I mean, they're all impressive in their own ways. The Zandons, I mean, they're gorgeous babies. I mean, he's by Upstart, which is a beautiful horse as well. And some others that have impressed me, and they impressed people in New York as well at that Fasig-Tipton sale up there, the Loggins. They're really nice and really typey babies, and they sold well up there, so hopefully it'll carry on to this sale as well. And then my Yeapons, what more can you say about him? I mean, number 1 2-year-old sire right now. His yearlings sold well all year long, and I've got some pretty nice babies by him. So hopefully it'd be an exciting roster, and hopefully we'll have a lot to be thankful for at Thanksgiving.
Scott, what is it about your approach to putting these consignments together that's allowed you to have this kind of consistent success year in and year out?
Well, it's good clients, and clients that the key is working together. You know, I've had some clients for a long time, and I've got some newer clients, but we all work together, and I don't like to leave anybody in the dark and just make decisions on my own. We have to work together for the same purpose. And you know, most of my clients have some good mares, and they have always add good mares to their roster, and that usually moves on till the next year when we have good weanings out of those mares.
All right, let me wind this down with the question that I've been dying to ask you since you started to join me here this morning. You are an accomplished team roper. I didn't know that about you. When we were texting back and forth last night, you said, I just got back from roping. And I said, let's talk about that. The heck with the consignments. Let's talk about your prowess in team roping, my friend. That's pretty cool.
Well, we've always had, growing up, we always had horses. We always had cattle. You know, my dad had the thoroughbreds, and he had cutting horses. So I've always been around the stock horse ranch side of it too. And, you know, when I was in high school, I was 5'1", weighed 130 pounds. So there wasn't much chance of me playing football or playing basketball. So I took to the riding side of it. And as I got older, took to the team roping, and it just, you know, it allows me to be with my two passions, cattle and horses. So, really enjoy the team roping.
That's really cool. Scott Mallory here on HRRN. Scott, listen, I appreciate the visit here this morning. Best of luck at Fasig-Tipton and Keeneland in November, and enjoy the Breeders' Cup.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
You got it. Scott Mallory here on HRRN. When I come back, it's time for your monthly Kentucky Bred update. Plenty to talk about there. And I'll tell you once again how you can enhance your upcoming parties in a big, big way. That's next on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Send your mare to Maryland. After she foals here, breed to one of our stallions, and your 2025 foal is eligible to be a registered Maryland bred, giving you the opportunity to earn significant bonuses. And beginning with 2-year-olds of 2025, Maryland bred and Maryland sired horses will earn 40% higher breeder bonuses than out-of-state sired runners. Maryland, a foundation of greatness, a bright future ahead. Learn more at MarylandThoroughbred.com.
The world's premier breeding stock event, the November sale at Fasig-Tipton. A night of stars featuring over 70 graded stakes winners or producers, and no less than 30 Grade 1 winners or producers. Champions, millionaires, elite producers, and selected weanlings. One catalog, one spectacular session, one star-studded evening with the highest concentration of quality breeding stock anywhere in the world. The Fasig-Tipton November sale, November 3rd in Lexington, Kentucky. Where will you be?
The 26-day fall meet at Churchill Downs begins Sunday, October 26th with live racing through Sunday, November 30th. The fall meet will run Wednesday through Sunday. First post is 1 p.m., except for Thanksgiving Day, which gets underway at 11:30 a.m. The road to the Kentucky Derby goes through the Churchill Downs fall meet twice, with the $200,000 Street Sense on Sunday, October 26th, and the $400,000 Kentucky Jockey Club on Saturday, November 29th. And you won't want to miss the 27th running of the Claiming Crown, which will be held Saturday, November 15th, featuring some of the top hard-knocking veterans in North America. For more information about the fall meet, visit churchilldowns.com and follow Churchill Downs on all social media platforms.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
And they're letting out off stops coming to the top of the stretch. Pleasantly perfect, catapulting past horses on the far outside as the field turns for home. Ghost Zapper has now shrugged off Roses and May. Pleasantly perfect continues to rally down the center of the track. Azeri doing her best, but she's now fifth. In between horses, perfect drift. Ghost Zapper kicking clear, and Ghost Zapper is pulling away impressively. And a pumped up Javier Castellano, they have soundly defeated Roses and May. Pleasantly Perfect was a well-beaten third. Perfect Drift was fourth.
Not necessarily a call that our Dale Romans would be thrilled with, probably. Roses and May, trained by Dale, finishing behind Ghost Zapper in the Met Mile. That was back in 2005. Tom Durkin had the call. And the final victory of Ghost Zapper's brilliant career. Man, was he good. You're going to hear a story about Ghost Zapper coming up in hour number 3, right around 10:20 Eastern. Kurt Becker takes you on his weekly Stroll Through Racing History, and with Halloween coming up on Friday, kind of makes sense for him to focus on Ghost Zapper. And nobody weaves a story together like Kurt Becker, so you'll want to stay tuned for that. I promise you it'll be a lot of fun. Ghost Zapper was Kentucky bred, and speaking of Kentucky breds, it pays to race and breed in the Bluegrass. A record $20 million in awards was paid to breeders participating in the Kentucky Thoroughbred Breeders Incentive Fund program for racing in 2024. KBIF has provided more than $250 million to breeders of Kentucky breds, winning eligible races worldwide since the program was implemented in 2005. Kentucky remains one of the leading racing jurisdictions, averaging, get this, a near record high purse per race of $112,648 and an average field size of 8.9 in 2024. Kentucky breds continue to show the way. They dominated the earnings list through mid-October, with all of the top 20 spots claimed by horses from the Bluegrass State. Leading the pack is multiple Grade 1 winner Sovereignty, who has earned over $5.6 million. He's followed by multiple Grade 1 winner Journalism, who's banked more than $3.8 million. Both horses headed for the Breeders' Cup Classic next week. White Barrio, pointing for the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, he's amassed earnings of more than $1.9 million this season. Maybe quietly banked $1.9 million. That's pretty darn good. Make sure your horse is KTDF eligible to secure your share of lucrative awards worldwide. Clearly, it pays to race and breed in the Bluegrass, one of the world's premier racing jurisdictions. For more information on racing and breeding in Kentucky, visit KentuckyBreds.com or register KBIF.com. Breed them, raise them, race them. We all win with Kentucky Breds. Well, if you're having a party, told you I was going to tell you how to enhance your parties, right? If you're planning a corporate party, a holiday party, if you're going to have a gathering with your friends, it doesn't matter, a private house party, you can really take that party to the next level by adding Derby and Dance Party video horse racing to that party. Let me tell you, it's really cool. It's become incredibly popular with so many major corporations who are planning those holiday parties. Derby and Dance Party video horse racing, it's a winner. You can go to their website, derbydanceparty.com, and you can see videos of how this all works. They customize it for you, too, which I really like. If you're going to have guests there, they actually sent me a sample of what it would look like if we did one with HRRN. And they kind of took all of the members of our team and created horse names based on each of our individual names or likes or whatever the case might be. The cool thing is, too, horse racing knowledge is absolutely not required, and no party is too large or too small. You can learn more about making your next racing party or your next party in general a Grade 1 winner by visiting derbydanceparty.com. That's derbydanceparty.com, or you can call them to book your party, 844-MY-PHILLY. You can also get more information that way as well. They're fantastic people. Stan and Donna, they do a great job. 844-MY-PHILLY, the number to call them and learn more about Derby Dance Party. All right, when I come back, I'm going to tell you what's ahead in hour number 3, plus I'll take a look at a historical date in racing history or two. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
After an exhilarating day at the Breeders' Cup races on Friday, October 31st, don't miss Thoroughbred Charities of America's Bash at the Breeders' Cup at the Del Mar Hilton, directly across the street from the racetrack. Treat yourself to a night of great food, craft cocktails, live music, and an opportunity to bid on exclusive auction items, all for a spooktacular cause that helps thoroughbreds and the people who care for them. For tickets and more information, please visit tca.org.
The National HBPA is continuously working to protect the health and welfare of horses by advocating and funding research to help reduce equine injuries, lobbying for a national testing lab to oversee and establish absolute uniform laboratory protocols, advocating for every track to undergo an annual independent surface assessment, passionately supporting off-the-track thoroughbred retirement facilities and adoption groups, and so much more. See additional HBPA initiatives at nationalhbpa.com.
James Brown and Bill Cowher welcoming you back to Dennis Melvin's house. It's time for the Midnight Snack Run.
This is one tricky obstacle course. Sticking to healthy habits in this kitchen is going to take focus and determination, but it can be done, JB.
He's already entered the snack part of the course, and he's eyeballing a jar of chocolatey candy.
That is tempting right off the start.
Uh-oh, he's reaching, Bill, but he pushes it away.
Great stiff arm.
He's approaching a plate of delicious-looking iced cookies.
Oh, Dennis, you only want one of those.
He blows right by him for the apple.
Oh, the fridge. It's make or break time, JB.
He stares down some rich-looking treats. Uh-oh, looks like he's headed for the soda. Wait, he jukes left, grabs the water bottle, and shuts the door with his elbow in record time.
Unbelievable move. I gotta see that again.
And he's out. He even turned off the light.
That's the way you execute a midnight snack run.
Stand Up to Cancer and Rally want you to reduce your risk for cancer.
Go to takeahealthystand.org.
Retirement can be scary, but only if you're not prepared. That's why AARP created thisispretirement.org. Because unless you've already retired, you're in pretirement, and you still have time to plan. Learn about retirement savings options, potential tax breaks, and how you can build savings over time. Visit thisispretirement.org for free resources to help you customize your action plan and feel the retirement fear disappear. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, this is Bobby Newman. Join Jude, Feld, and me for our Breeders' Cup countdown shows, Tuesday through Thursday of Breeders' Cup week. We'll be broadcasting live from trackside at Del Mar as we speak with jockeys, trainers, owners, and handicappers, as well as bring you up-to-the-minute news leading up to the 2025 World Championships. The Breeders' Cup countdown shows, Tuesday through Thursday of Breeders' Cup week, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. Listen live on Sirius 160, XM 205, or online at horseracingradio.net.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Welcome back. 2 hours in the books, almost. 1 hour still to come. Hour 3 kicks off with the TwinSpires triple play. Kevin Kilroy, I can say that. The second KK on the program today. After Kevin Kerstein joined me in hour number 1, Kevin has 3 races for you to watch and wager on this afternoon. All 3, by the way, coming from Keeneland on closing day of that Keeneland fall meet. Racing shifting to Churchill Downs tomorrow. Quick look at a couple dates in racing history as they apply to today in particular. October 25th, 1870, the date that Pimlico, the nation's second oldest thoroughbred racetrack, began its inaugural meet. And October 25th, 1947, after winning the Gallant Fox Handicap at Jamaica, a former $1,500 claimer, Stymie, became the world's leading money-winning thoroughbred with earnings of $816,060. How about that? Stymie raced 2 additional years and retired in 1949 at the age of 8 with lifetime earnings of just over $918,000. Those are historical dates in racing history as they apply to today in thoroughbred history. More history set to be made next weekend at the Breeders' Cup, kicking off on Friday. Of course, another reminder, we will be there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday mornings. Bobby Newman, Jude Feld, live from Del Mar with 3 Derby countdown shows. You won't want to miss them. 8 to 10 Pacific, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern, and podcast after the live airing. So no excuses. If you don't catch them live, listen to the podcast on our website or on every podcast platform. Continue to weigh in on our poll question. You can go to @HRRN on X, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, and you can email the show, Mike at horseracingradio.net. Does a loss in the Breeders' Cup Classic hurt Sovereignty's chances to be voted Horse of the Year? I want to know your thoughts on that topic. 2 hours down, 1 to go. If your local station is leaving us at this time, continue listening to hour number 3 on Sirius XM and streaming at horseracingradio.net. Hour 3 of the Equine Forum straight ahead, right after this 10-second pause for station identification. This is the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
One Go, All Go, chased by Tweet Kitten, then Fundamental, Wayward Kitten fourth, Closing Bell still fifth. Fundamental diving to the inside. Tweet Kitten puts a head in front and has the lead. Coming to the line, Tweet Kitten in front. Closing Bell runs on with Wayward Kitten. It is Tweet Kitten and Javier Castellano to win the Bryan Station. Final furlong of the Fayette Stakes. Wise Dan, Julien Leperoux looking for win number 4 on the card, and Wise Dan will make a shambles of the Fayette field. It is all Wise Dan.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
A desperate finish. Rags to Riches and Carlin. They're coming down to the wire. It's going to be very close, and it's going to be a filly in the Belmont. Rags to Riches has beaten Carlin and 100 years of Belmont history. The first filly to win it in over a century. Coming into the final furlong, Grasshopper is a stubborn foe for the Derby winner. Street Sense is full left. They're still head-to-head for the lead. Street Sense in a desperate struggle here with Grasshopper. Street Sense and Grasshopper under the line, and Street Sense prevails.
Now here's Mike Penna.
Prevails narrowly was the way Tom Durkin ended that call, and my goodness, I can remember being there that day with Street Sense and Grasshopper and so many outstanding races that we've seen, and you just heard several of those in that montage as we were coming back here for hour number 3, and welcome back. One more hour to go. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, with you on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Rags to Riches, Street Sense going to be remembered with opening day at Churchill Downs this weekend. You heard from Kevin Kerstein earlier in the program from Churchill Downs. KK, as we like to call him. You're going to hear from another KK coming up in just a couple of moments with the TwinSpires Triple Play. That is Kevin Kilroy. He will have 3 races for you to watch and wager on this afternoon at Keeneland. Kurt Becker, Stroll Through Racing History, coming up at 10:20. A cool story about who else? Ghost Sapper. You have Halloween week, right? Halloween coming up on Friday. And we'll focus on Ghost Sapper with that story, his Stroll Through Racing History presented by Keeneland. And then I Ask, They Answer with Dale Romans, Tim Wilkin, coming up at 10:30 Eastern Time. Stay tuned for that. Lots of things to get to. If you missed any portion of the first 2 hours of the show, head back to our website, horseracingradio.net. After I finish up at 11 o'clock Eastern, you can listen to the podcast whenever you have some time. You can do that, too, on every single podcast platform. But it is time now to say hello to Kevin Kilroy with this week's TwinSpires Triple Play. Wow, all kinds of Ks floating around. This is like a K Quattro edition of the show here today, Kevin.
4K coming into you 4K. That's,
I like that even better.
What we do.
4K, yeah, coming at you in 4K here on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
We could be WWE champs, I think, if Kirstein and I teamed up and just got in the ring and took the world on. We're good.
Who's flying off the top rope, kind of Jimmy Superfly Snuka style?
Have you seen that look in Kirstein's eye? Him, he's the crazy one.
Yeah, he is. He when he lets it rip, the game's over.
That's the truth.
Well, man, I'm excited to talk with you. Rolling on to Breeders' Cup next week, but we have racing at Keeneland taking place here this afternoon, and it is a rock-solid card. In the 3 races, Kevin, that you have chosen, all stakes races 6, 8, and 9. So people are going to want to pay attention here because these races were, in my opinion, very competitive, very well balanced, and you somehow have figured them out enough to choose them for the triple play.
Yeah, they're bettable. That's for sure. The whole card is. It's deep racing. It's it's what you want for that final day of the fall Keeneland meet. So, yeah, we'll see if we can wade through these waters and make some money.
All right, race 6 kicks it off for us. It is the Bowman Mill Stakes, purse of $250,000. It is for the 2-year-olds, and they will sprint 6 furlongs on the main track at Keeneland this afternoon. How'd you see the Bowman Mill?
Yeah, so 2 from Wesley Ward. Heartily, just watching those works recently, haven't loved the way he's been moving, kind of getting outworked by horses like Scarlet Poppy, Arbiter, good horses for Ward, as they all are. When you see him roll in the morning, especially. I thought that Spun DMC, that debut effort, maybe isn't one that we necessarily want to take at face value. I mean, Randy Morse trains this one. Irad's going to take the call. All the signals are there. Huge figure on debut that this is a serious colt, and he very well could be. But he's just got that profile that I like to bet against in terms of a big debut number, and expecting that horse to run right back to it, expecting them to hold that form. I don't think is always the best angle, especially on a short price, assuming that Spun DMC is the favorite. Gallivant for Ben Colebrook, I thought that was a better than looks effort. Finished very strong there on that October 4th debut. Local Knowledge, a good one. Rocky's Balboa, another good one. Dale Romans got that one going in the Breeders' Cup. I think that Gallivant should improve. Second asking, Machado's taking the call on that one. I'm interested in that one, but assuming that this field holds up, we've got Outfielder. Outfielder is cross-entered in a couple Breeders' Cup races. I think he's the goods. I mean, obviously heading out to France for that Group 1 and running a strong figure, 4th, two lengths back. That was a very good shipping back here, looking fantastic, beating Oscar's Hope sometime, a good one for Sims. Assuming that Outfielder's running, he's the one for me in here. Also, there's a ton of front runners. Everybody's going to want that forward position. He's proven that he can just rate right off of it and go on. So Outfielder's my top pick. If we don't see him, give me Gallivant to get it done.
Yeah, Outfielder 3-1 on the morning line. Do you think we get 3-1 if he stays in?
I think Tamro probably looked at the 2 wards and knew that we weren't sure what we'd see in here, and just sort of put him right about there. And yeah, if he's in that race, I think he'd be odds on.
Yeah, and the Gallivant race, you're right. He ran really, really well, and he's an into mischief, and we know that they win just about every time they go out, right? He's out of a Munnings mare. He fits the profile of winning second time out here for Ben Colebrook, so I can see you going that direction too.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tux, half the Tux, who looked very good when he was flirting with the Derby Trail for Bill Mott. So there's definitely talent in those bloodlines.
All right, number 3, Outfielder, the top pick in race number 6 for Kevin Kilroy here this morning, 3-1 on the morning line. The second race you have chosen is another stakes. Again, all 3 of these races, stakes races at Keeneland. This is the Grade 3 Bryant Station, race number 8, 1 mile on the turf, purse of $600K. It is for the 3-year-olds. Who wins this one?
God, this 3-year-old group of turf horses is just fantastic. It's fantastic. You can see it here in the Bryant Station. This is a deep race. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be interesting to see how they bet it. I do think the 2 most likely winners are Giacoso and Plenza. I think Tamrose got it right there in terms of giving those lukewarm sort of favoritism at 9-2, I believe, is Giacoso is the morning line favorite. Plenza right there at 5-1. They battled last out in the gun runner. I thought that Plenza had the better setup in terms of they went pretty fast, and Plenza was able to finish up and get up a length ahead of Giacoso. Those two, Giacoso, I got to talk about, DeSormo, how well he's done with this colt. He's always, thought very highly of him, and he tried him in the Risen Star. It didn't go well. Back quick for some Derby action up at the Jeff Ruby American Turf. I thought he had a little bit of an excuse, but just talking with DeSormo, he decided to. He says that even his old age, he's learning new tricks, and Giacoso giving him time, not rushing him back. He got him there for the Secretariat. He looked fantastic. Curtis fit him like a glove. He proved that he can get into the race early on. Again, in the gun runner, similar deal. Curtis up. He got him into the race. He ran fantastic. Didn't get the win, but got a good paycheck for that one. I think Giacoso would be my top pick in terms of just who I think is going to win. But I do think Macero is going to be the price play. And you got to talk to Dale about this one. I know you'll talk to him in a little bit. The last two, he just hasn't had pace to close into. I thought that Ben maybe was assuming that he was on a closer, but with the blinkers on, I thought Macero really wanted to get into the race a little bit more, going against Day and Age last out. He was trying to hold him back and just didn't relax quite so well. Second time blinkers on, has the rail. They might sleep on him. He was the favorite last out in that salty allowance at Churchill. He should work out a perfect trip on the rail, and he might just be into that race a little bit more to get the first run on closers like Plenza. So Macero, I think, is the value play, but I'll go on record saying Giacoso is my top pick.
Don't you find it interesting, Kevin, that you mentioned him being the favorite in that really good allowance race last time out at Churchill Downs? Now he's 20-1 on the morning line. He goes from being the favorite to being a huge long shot, and you say, okay, well, he's going from an allowance race to a greatest stakes race, but he was second in the Old Dominion Grade 3 at Colonial Downs the race before that allowance race. So he fits at this class.
Who I think is definitely at least one of the top three in this group. He's fantastic for Mott.
How does he get to 20-1?
I think the market's going to read it as Ben Curtis has taken the call on Giacoso. And I think that he does have some dirtied up form and some excuses, but I think they're going to be like, well, he hasn't won in quite some time, so it's going to be hard to take him at a short price. So I don't know if we'll get 20-1. I think if we are at 20-1, maybe we're a little bit too chilly. But I don't know. I mean, even with this is a big group. You've got all sorts of interesting runners here. Troubleshooting for Foley stretching out. He's a monster. Antisocial's been running fantastic. Final Gambit's in here. He deserves a big look. Tenacious, Mike, so many of these horses are moving forward in their last race, and that's the sort of sign you want to see from these 3-year-olds. So it's going to be a very, very good race, very bettable race. If Day and Age does draw in on the AEs at 13, the pace could heat up, which might move things a little bit more towards Plenza and Macero. But I think he's got a big look. He's always been talented. Half to Bleecker Street, for Chad Brown, she was amazing when she was running.
Final Gambit. We saw him in the Kentucky Derby. He ended up finishing 4th, came flying at the end. Really, really good race against a fantastic group with the top 2 3-year-olds in there, Sovereignty and Journalism. He's only beaten 4 1/4 lengths. Comes back and finishes 4th in the Matt Winn. Then they try him on the grass, and everybody said, oh, he's going to be a monster on the grass. He's 0 for 3, but he's running in good company in those 3 races, to say the least. When are we going to – is this the time that Final Gambit finally breaks through? I think we're all waiting for it.
We're waiting for it, right? And it's interesting to see we've got Machado back up. He was, obviously figured him out in the Jeff Ruby and the Derby. Was it too far last out? He definitely lost some ground, earned a good figure. 3rd start with blinkers on. You got to think that they're going to bet this one. I know I'm on record for saying that he would win the National Derby, and he did not. I thought he did run well. Again, another player in here, another player for sure. He's definitely interesting. If we do have moisture in the ground, Dream On definitely runs very well with moisture for Cassie. Castellano, when we were in the Secretariat, he said it's just too hard. The ground was just too hard for him. I think he really does appreciate some give. So that's a little bit of insight on that 6, who's also in good form, stretching back out. I mean, this is a great race. It's a great race.
Really, really solid race. And Kevin will go with number 9. Giacoso, 9-2 is his top pick, but he'll look to number 1, Macero, at 20-1 on the morning line as his value play. And yes, I will ask Dale Romans more about Macero when he joins me in the final segment with Tim Wilkin for I Ask, They Answer. All right, one more to talk about, Kevin. The final race you've chosen for this week's TwinSpires Triple Play is the Grade 3 Fayette Stakes, $350,000, 3-year-olds and up. They're going to go 1 1/8 miles on the main track. Who wins this one?
Another deep, fantastic race. Who to trust, I think, is the big question in here. Who to trust? We've got a lot of horses that didn't necessarily run their best race in the last race or the last couple. The way I see it, as long as this field holds up, we've got a serious amount of pace in here. We got Bracket Buster, Dillinger. They'll definitely be getting involved with it. Best Actor, I don't know. He's got the ability to get into it, I would think. He should be, but Machado is not necessarily a send rider. Prince of Power should be a full send. Dragoon Guard, Gosger. There's some serious pace signed on for this. I think we've got to give Rattle and Roll a pass on that last out effort. I mean, I was surprised to see him run in the Lucas Classic. It was just 3 drills ahead of that one. Seemed a little bit short, although he was working fantastic. But I know this was the recipe last year to win the Clark, that they brought him back for the Lucas and then got him ready for the Clark. And talking to Kenny before the Lucas Classic, I'm like, is he going back to the Clark this year? What's he going to do? He's like, no, the Fayette. That's what we're doing. So I think he's going to have the pace to close into. He continues to work very sharply. I think they'll sleep on him enough. I'd love to get 8-1 on Rattle and Roll. And if not Rattle and Roll, I mean, I do think with the pace, Hit Show is another one that you just have to forgive that last one. He does have a little bit of every other race form to him. So, there wasn't a ton of pace signed on in there. He did come on, as he always does, an honest horse. I think those two are the ones that I'm going to put my money through.
Rattle and Roll, 12-1 on the morning line for Ken McPeak would be a really solid number if he can find a way to pull off a victory here in that Fayette Stakes. By the way, in case you're wondering, post time for race number 9, the Fayette, 5:16 Eastern in Lexington, Kentucky this afternoon. Kevin, let's recap your top selections here in these 3 races. In race number 6 at Keeneland, you'll take number 3, Outfielder, at 3-1. Race number 8, you give a look to number 9, Giacoso, at 9-2. And in race number 9, you'll take number 6, Rattle and Roll, at 12-1. Those are some solid prices, my friend.
Yeah, that's what we want, right? We want some prices, and we'll see how they bet these races. They're so competitive, like we've been saying. I think the market could give you some signal in terms of how they approach these, who takes that early money, all that sort of good stuff.
Closing day at Keeneland today, opening day, Churchill tomorrow. I'm sure TwinSpires has all kinds of special offers. What's going on this weekend with TwinSpires?
Yeah, you got the tournament action, of course. You want to take a look at that ahead of the Breeders' Cup. You got the opportunity that you can actually get a little bit, 5% back if you buy your Breeders' Cup entry through TwinSpires, play through TwinSpires, and you bet at least $3,000 over October. So check your wagers. Have you gotten there? If so, and you want to take a swing, and you're thinking about doing a little bit of last minute $10,000 ticket shopping, do it through TwinSpires. You get 5% back. That's serious money. On Saturday at Keeneland, we've got the money back opportunity. So depending on your wagering level, $10 for that sort of entry level. But if your win horse, your win bet runs second or third, you get your insurance back. You get your money back. So up to $10, up to $25, up to $50, kind of goes up with where you're at in terms of how much you bet throughout the year. But TwinSpires continues to impress me. What a great platform. You can do almost all your handicapping through there. I'm loving everything they've got cooking up there.
Coming at you in 4K on the show this morning, Kevin Kilroy with the TwinSpires Triple Play. Kevin, enjoy the weekend. Knock them dead at the windows, my friend. We'll talk again soon, and good luck with Breeders' Cup, too.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
All right, Kevin Kilroy here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Don't forget you can play those 3 races and every race you're going to bet this weekend and throughout the Breeders' Cup with Twinspires. If you missed it, when I gave it out in the first 2 hours of the program, gave it out once in each hour, our impossible trivia question this morning is kind of interesting. If you can come up with the answer, good for you. I think this is another challenging one, as it should be, from our producer Lee Delapina. Who was the oldest horse to ever win a race in North America, and how old was he when he won? Think about that one for a minute. The answer coming your way. Final segment of the show, 10:55 Eastern. Up next, Kurt Becker takes you on his weekly Stroll Through Racing History, presented by Keeneland. A really cool story, considering it's Halloween week, about a horse named Ghost Sapper. You'll remember him. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
You're listening to HRRN, Horse Racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Dear racing fans, we've been waiting for you. We've been working, prepping, training, putting together thrilling races, high stakes, favorite traditions, and fresh experiences. From right on the rail to the top of the hill. Whether it's your first meet or your 50th, we can't wait to welcome you back this fall. Love, Keeneland.
When it's time to paint the fences and barns, think Farm Paint. At Farm Paint, you get the industry's best coatings and paints factory direct at low, low prices. Farm Paint is your source for quality paints, roof coatings, dustless arena footings, and more. You can purchase online or drop into a Farm Paint store near you with locations in heart of bluegrass country at 700 Phillips Lane in Lexington, Kentucky, Columbus, Ohio, and Sandusky, Ohio. Buy factory direct and save at farmpaint.com. That's farmpaint.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Hello, I'm Kurt Becker. Thanks for joining me as I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. He's a horse with a spooky name, and he won the Breeders' Cup Classic with a freakishly good performance on Halloween weekend some 21 years ago. He also once had a hole drilled in his head in a procedure which might call to mind Dr. Frankenstein's laboratory. His name is Ghost Sapper. Foaled on April 6, 2000 at breeder Adena Springs in Paris, Kentucky, Ghost Sapper is a bay horse by Awesome Again out of Baby Zip by Relaunch. His sire won the Breeders' Cup Classic as part of an unbeaten season, while his dam was a minor stakes winner. Much was made of the fact breeder Frank Stronach had sold Ghost Sapper's half-brother City Zip for $9,000 as a yearling, only for the latter to become a Grade 1 winner as a juvenile. It was said Stronach retained Ghost Sapper so as not to make the same mistake twice. Actually, there was more to it. As one turf writer noted years later, City Zip did not have ideal conformation, but overcame to rise to the level which he did. By comparison, Ghost Sapper was said to be big, correct, and solidly made. Sent to Bobby Frankel for training and racing in the name of Stronach Stables, Ghost Sapper made his debut in November of 2002 as a 2-year-old, winning a maiden special weight at Hollywood Park under Jose Valdivia Jr. and paying $25 at the windows. The margin of victory was 9 lengths, prompting the Los Angeles Times to observe that Ghost Sapper had crushed maidens like a future star. A lackluster fourth as the odds-on favorite at Santa Anita in December led to a 6-month layoff, but Ghost Sapper returned in style to win his season's debut as a 3-year-old at Belmont Park for jockey Javier Castellano. Later that fall, Ghost Sapper got his first career stakes win, coming from 10th to win the Grade 1 Vosburg against Older at Belmont by 6.5 lengths and just missing the track record. Talk of a trip to the Breeders' Cup Sprint was dismissed by Frankel, and the issue became a moot point when Ghost Sapper went to the sidelines with a bruised foot. The following year, at age 4, Ghost Sapper was raced sparingly but dazzled in each performance. He won the graded Tom Fool at 7 furlongs, took the Islin at Monmouth Park by nearly 11 lengths in his first try around 2 turns, and won the Grade 1 Woodward after battling St. Liam for the length of the Belmont Park home stretch.
In his fourth and final start of the campaign, Ghost Sapper went to the post as the 5-2 favorite for the $4 million Breeders' Cup Classic at Lone Star Park. The date was October 30th, 2004. Tom Durkin with the call.
And they're letting out all stops coming to the top of the stretch. Pleasantly perfect. Catapulting past horses on the far outside as the field turns for home. Ghost Zapper has now shrugged off Roses in May. Pleasantly perfect continues to rally down the center of the track. Azari doing her best, but she's now fifth. In between horses, perfect trip. Ghost Zapper kicking clear, and Ghost Zapper is pulling away impressively. And a pumped up Javier Castellano, they have soundly defeated Roses in May. Pleasantly Perfect was a well-beaten third.
Leading every step of the way, Ghost Sapper got the 1 1/4 in 1 minute 59.02 seconds, which remains the stakes record to this day. And like his sire, Awesome Again, he won the Breeders' Cup Classic to complete an unbeaten season. Debate soon began concerning who should be the 2004 Horse of the Year. Smarty Jones had been brilliant in the spring, winning the Kentucky Derby and Preakness, but had fallen short of the Triple Crown, and he had never faced older horses. Ghost Sapper had been brilliant in each start and had won graded stakes at 3 distances, but he only saw the starting gate 4 times. Those who advocated for Smarty Jones said Horse of the Year should transcend the statistics and should include consideration of how much a given horse had done to draw new fans to the sport. The Smarty crowd pointed to a 13+ rating for the telecast of the Belmont Stakes as compared to a 1.8 for the Breeders' Cup Classic. But a majority of voters rejected that line of thinking, and Ghost Sapper won the Eclipse Award as Horse of the Year over Smarty Jones by a tally of 174 to 95. Almost lost in all of that debate was the fact Ghost Sapper's connections were planning a return to the races for him in 2005. That return was delayed, however, because of a sinus infection which was so intense veterinarians had to drill a hole in Ghost Sapper's head to drain his sinuses. 7 weeks after that procedure, Ghost Sapper returned to the races and won the Grade 1 Metropolitan Handicap at Belmont Park, giving him 4 career Grade 1 wins at 4 distances. But a hairline fracture of the left front ankle led to his retirement less than 3 weeks later. As a sire, Ghost Sapper is credited with over 120 stakes winners and 8 champions, in addition to being the broodmare sire of Triple Crown winner Justify. After standing most of his career in Kentucky, he is now winding down at Adena Springs North in Canada. Ghost Sapper was said to be speed, acceleration, and stamina all wrapped in one package. Stephen Christ of Daily Racing Form called him an electrifying closing sprinter and a determined front-running router. As for us, we say cheers to Ghost Sapper, and we wish everyone a happy Halloween. Please join me again next week when I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. For HRRN, I'm Kurt Becker.
Thanks, Kurt, for that story. And remember, all of Kurt's Stroll Through Racing History segments are available via podcast on our website. And don't miss our Weekend Stakes preview show with Bobby Newman and Bob Nastanovich, which is also available right now at horseracingradio.net. I Ask the Answer with Dale and Tim coming up next. This is the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Top consignor Scott Mallory is offering an exciting November lineup, starting at Fasig-Tipton with Weanlings by Forte and Gunite, both out of multiple stakes-producing female families. At Keeneland, the Scott Mallory consignment features exciting Weanlings by Yopon, Jackie's Warrior, Loggins, Zandon, and Taba, as well as mares in foal to first-year sires Seize the Gray, Muth, Kingsbarns, Blazing Sevens, and Domestic Product, and established sires McLean's Music, Violence, and Authentic. There's something for every buyer at the Scott Mallory November consignments.
His sire is one of the most exciting young stallions in the world. His dam has become one of the most important brood mares in the industry. And on the first Saturday in May, his genetic brilliance shined brightest on racing's biggest stage.
They come into the final 16th, and it is going to be Mage to win the Kentucky Derby.
Mage, standing at Airdrie Stud. Think about it.
Send your mare to Maryland. After she foals here, breed to one of our stallions, and your 2025 foal is eligible to be a registered Maryland bred, giving you the opportunity to earn significant bonuses. And beginning with 2-year-olds of 2025, Maryland bred and Maryland sired horses will earn 40% higher breeder bonuses than out-of-state sired runners. Maryland, a foundation of greatness, a bright future ahead. Learn more at MarylandThoroughbred.com.
This is I Ask, They Answer on the Equine Forum on HRRN.
Journalism is getting closer now. He's behind a wall of horses. He's looking for a place to go, and he's got nowhere to go. Oh, he bumped hard with Goal-Oriented. In the meanwhile, Gosner's running the race of his life, and Sandman has entered the scene, and he has moved up on the far outside. Journalism is still running on. He's back into second. He might even win it. Here's the winner. Oh, my goodness. Journalism has won the Preakness Stakes in a performance like you read about.
That's Larry Colmus with the call on NBC. Journalism incredibly capturing the Preakness before going on to win the Haskell later this summer. The Eclipse Thoroughbred Partners runner is going to have a new jockey for next weekend's Breeders' Cup Classic as Jose Ortiz replaces regular rider Umberto Rispoli. You won't want to miss what Dale and Tim have to say about that decision. Plus, 3 Breeders' Cup races will once again be run following this year's Breeders' Cup Classic. Do you like it? Do you love it? Or do you hate it? We'll debate. And is the industry's handling of CAWs right or wrong? All of that and much, much more is straight ahead on this week's edition of I Ask, They Answer with trainer Dale Romans and turf rider Tim Wilkin, all presented by the University of Louisville, Equine Industry Program in the College of Business, and it all starts just 30 seconds from right now.
A spark turns into a dream, and your dreams fuel a love that will last a lifetime. Turn your passion into a career with experienced guidance, a thorough study of equine business, as well as opportunities to get your hands dirty and put your mind to work. Located in the heart of horse country, let your passion fuel your profession at the U of L Equine Industry Program. Apply today.
Well, as you just heard, plenty to get to 1 week away from the Breeders' Cup World Championships. And guys, we're going to begin with a couple of rounds of like it, love it, or hate it. 2 topics for you here this morning. We'll start with Preakness and Haskell winner Journalism, who's going to have a new jockey when he goes to the post in the Breeders' Cup Classic. That's Jose Ortiz, who is replacing Umberto Rispoli, who had ridden Journalism in all but one of his 10 career starts. I'm a huge proponent of dance with the one that brought you. What are your thoughts on this move? Do you like it? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Tim Wilkin.
I don't like it. I mean, what did Umberto do wrong? He won the Haskell, won the Preakness, won the Santa Anita Derby with him. He was second in the Pacific Classic Belmont in the Derby. Yes, there was, I know he was fined and suspended for using the crop 8 times in the Haskell. There was some controversy in the Preakness, that even though he won the race, that there was, the incident in the upper stretch that, depending on who you talk to, might say that he was responsible for that. It's the owner and the trainer's combined decision to make the change. Yes, it would have been nice if they would have given a reason why, but there was no reason given. Jose Ortiz is one of the best riders in the country. Obviously, he has a resume that's much gaudy, much brighter than Umberto's. But, it's not like Rispoli doesn't know how to ride this horse. I mean, he brought him a lot of success. So I'm not really wild about the change. I mean, I again, Jose Ortiz is one of the best in the country, but I just don't see it. The reason for doing this, a week and a half, 2 weeks before the race.
Dale, do you like the move?
I don't like it. I mean, it doesn't feel right, but I understand it. I mean, it's hard to leave Jose in the room or riding against you. One thing he said about when we rode Pat Day at Churchill Downs, the best thing about riding him is he wasn't riding against you. So I can understand it's a tough game, tough gig. Rispoli did a good job with this horse, and I'm sure it hurts, but at least he got to ride him. It's better to have ride him and lost him than never rode him at all.
You know, when I was putting this topic together, I was thinking back to earlier this year when we talked about Umberto Rispoli, and one of the topics on this show was, is journalism winning because of Umberto Rispoli or in spite of Umberto Rispoli? Because he always seemed like he was overcoming severe trouble in his races. So I guess if you look at it and say, yeah, he was winning despite Umberto Rispoli being aboard him, then you can understand the move. But if you say, this horse was winning because of Umberto, then you're kind of scratching your head at this decision.
I don't think any horse wins because of a jockey. They win because they're talented. And, Rispoli did a fine job on the horse. I like that kid. I didn't know him very well. He rode a couple of horses for me this spring, and he's a good jockey in his own right. But like I say, you can understand not leaving Irad in the room. If you can get him, you got to get him, I guess.
It's Jose. Does Jose give this horse a better chance to win the Classic?
That's a good question. He's not going to give him less of a chance. Let's say that. You're not going to lose anything by picking Jose up.
I mean, all three of those wins, the Haskell, Preakness, and Santa Anita Derby, there was trouble in all of them. It shows how good a horse journalism is, for sure. I mean, would there have been those troubled trips if Rispoli wasn't on him? We're never going to know that. But I guess if you look at Aaron Wellman and Michael McCarthy, Jose Ortiz becomes available, maybe you just jump on it. But I feel bad for Umberto.
Yep. Yeah, Umberto Rispoli going to be sitting that one out, at least not aboard journalism. We'll see if he picks up somebody else. But right now, Jose Ortiz will have the assignment on journalism. We've talked about this other topic before, guys, but I thought it was worth bringing back because the Breeders' Cup Classic, is once again not the final race of the day on Breeders' Cup Saturday. It instead is going to be run as race number 9 with 3 more Breeders' Cup races following in order to fit into the NBC broadcast window. Dale, do you like that? Do you love it? Do you hate it? What's your take on that?
I understand it. I don't like it at all. I wish it could be different, but we need that primetime exposure. We need to be on the network. So I understand it, but I don't like it. I mean, I like it it's the feature. It should be the feature race, but I understand it.
I don't like it. I've said that before. I mean, if you have the Breeders' Cup Classic is the culmination of the weekend, the culmination of the year. That should be the last race. It should be the last race. And again, like Dale, I understand why NBC's doing it because, it's not ratings-wise, it's not a fair fight when you put horse racing up against college football. Let's face it. I think that the game that the Breeders' Cup Saturday, the college game, I think is with Nebraska USC maybe. And, neither of those teams are in the top 25 right now, but that'll probably get a better rating than the Breeders' Cup would for sure.
Wouldn't it be Notre Dame, Timmy? Does NBC still have their contract with Notre Dame?
NBC's got the Big Ten, don't they?
I thought they still had their contract with Notre Dame, but maybe not.
But I think Notre Dame might be playing the afternoon that game. I think the night game is USC-Nebraska.
Okay.
But, this year there's 3 races after the Classic. And last year there were 4. The year before there were 2. I mean, it just seems like the air's out of the building after the Classic is run, and it's the other races are important in their own rights. They don't get the real fair shake. And then, if you want to watch all the races, unless you keep it on FanDuel, you're going to be flipping around stations all afternoon because, Peacock's got them, USA's got them, NBC has their big window. I understand it, but I don't like it. It's horse racing's World Series, and it's being treated like it's a game in the middle of August.
Dale, does it take away from the 3 races that are being run after the Classic?
Yeah, I think it takes away a little bit. I think it takes away, but I wish we were more important than college football, and maybe someday we will be.
I've been to the Breeders' Cup, and it's going to be it won't be a point of contention when the Breeders' Cup comes back east because there won't be the 3-hour time difference. But being out in California the last few years for the Breeders' Cup, and after the Classic's over, you just see people pouring out of Santa Anita and last year Del Mar. People are leaving after the Classic. It's not like by the time the last race is run, which I believe this year is going to be the Filly and Mare Turf, there might be crickets at Del Mar. People don't stick around after the big race is over. A lot of them don't anyway.
The 3 races after the Classic. Go ahead, Dale.
I said it just makes them feel less important. And they're good, important races.
Yeah, the 3 races after the Classic, the Breeders' Cup Mile, the Turf Mile, the Dirt Mile, and then the Filly and Mare Turf are the 3 races.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Classic, the most hyped event. It's the most hyped race of this year's Breeders' Cup, too. When you look at the 3-year-olds taking on the older horses, both divisions really strong. That is the race of this year's Breeders' Cup.
No question. There's more anticipation for this maybe since the 1998 Classic. Mm-hmm. The Dawson again one, and there was Silver Charm and Skip Away, and the Coronado's Quest, I believe, was their Victory Gallop. It was, that was anticipated, big anticipation for that, and there is for this one too. And it's kind of a shame that it's going to be run at 3:30 in the afternoon, and 6:30 in the afternoon, and on the 6:30 at night on the East Coast, 3:30 in the afternoon out in California. Yeah.
You don't have to like it. You don't have to love it, but you can certainly understand the decision considering the NBC broadcast windows on that particular Saturday afternoon. Guys, we've got to move on. Let's get to our next topic here. It comes from Tom in St. Louis. Dale, he wants to know how trainers feel about the 2-step entry process for the Breeders' Cup compared to just a standard single-day entry.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't like it. And that's I don't like it at all. And you get in 2 or 3 different races. If you're on the fringe and you're on the all syllables like I am this year with Bob Brodsky, it makes it more difficult for you to know where you stand and what you're going to do.
Yeah, because you have to make travel plans to go out there to be with the horse. I know you can. Tammy can go out there and accompany him early in case he does get in, but you have to make the final decision whether you're going to go or not and book that flight and all of those things, right?
Yeah, you have to book the flight for the horse. I sent him out there. I thought he would get in. I can't believe there's 13 horses they like better than him for that race, but they did. And hopefully he draws in because he's out there training.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He also wants to know how licensing happens in the Breeders' Cup. If you enter just in a Breeders' Cup race, does a Kentucky horseman, for example, have to get a California license for 2 days, or is there a special Breeders' Cup license?
No, there's a license. You have to get licensed for a year in any state you run, which we do that a lot. We'll ship to one state and run one race. And say you go to Iowa for the Cornhusker, you got to get a license, just a regular license. Jockey, trainer, groom, owner, everybody.
Interesting. Good questions from Tom.
Actually, even more than that, we have to buy a special insurance policy for California because they have their own little closed insurance out there. You have to buy a special policy just to run your horse.
Can the policy be limited to just Breeders' Cup, or does it have to be a full year policy?
No, it's limited to the little bit of time that you're out there, but it's still a couple $1,000 extra that you have to spend when you're out there.
Is that for the whole barn or just individual?
Well, that's your workman's comp policy for your employees, which only have a few out there. I only have Tammy and one other right now. But it's another expense where if they're racing, and because California doesn't recognize their insurance policy that we have for the rest of the country. There's 2 states, Ohio and California, that are pretty difficult about workman's comp on those issues.
Well, if you had a win and you're in, that would take care of all that, right?
Nope. You still got to buy your own insurance. They just pay your entry fee. You do
so your license, you don't
shipping. They give you a stipend for shipping out, so it doesn't cover everything, but it helps.
So it's
definitely
a
commitment to.
Yeah, you got to spend some money to run in the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah,
it's an expensive endeavor.
And if you don't get in, like in Bobrovsky's case, you don't get it back.
Yeah, that's true. I won't get it back, and I own him. So I put a lot of money out there to ship out and get my insurance and get all licensed and ready to go, and he's on also eligible.
Now, we could spend a whole show talking about what's involved with getting on the also eligibles and how that's all determined too. We don't have enough time. We've got to move on to right or wrong and Nick Zito, but maybe one day we will talk about that particular aspect of the Breeders' Cup as well. But we will say hello to Nick Zito, and Dale and Tim will tell me if the following statement is right or wrong.
Yeah, right or wrong. Am I right? What do you think? Right or wrong?
Guys, computer-assisted wagering, CAWs, has become an extremely hot topic again this week. It has been for a while, but it resurfaced again this week after Breeders' Cup announced that they would not cut off CAWs 2 minutes to post, as Del Mar has done during their race meets. Keeneland also made the decision not to restrict wagering times during their fall meet. Several big money horse players have taken to social media saying they will be done betting on horse racing as long as they can no longer compete against non-restricted CAW pools. This certainly appears to be a significant issue. We're going to hear more about this going forward, but my question to you is the industry's approach to handling this situation right or wrong?
What do you think? Right or wrong?
Tim, I'll start with you. What do you think?
I think it's wrong. I mean, for as long as I can remember, horse racing was catered to the person that wants to go to the track and bet on a horse race. Now, those are the people that are going to get screwed. I mean, you have the computer-assisted wagering, which is the use of automated, algorithm-driven betting systems by the pro bettors in the game, and it just seems to me that, you know, if I'm at a track and I'm betting 5 minutes before post and the horse I'm betting is 12-1, then if he wins and he comes across the finish line, then he's 3-1 because of the CAW. The casual bettor is the one that's just getting screwed, and I just think that's wrong. I know the tracks are getting money from the CAWs, but that doesn't help the small guy at all. And I just don't think it looks to me like they don't even care about them anymore. And I understand. Sorry, Dale.
Yeah, it's wrong, but you're wrong, Timmy, about I'm not caring about it. Believe me, there's a lot of internal conversations about it and how to handle it. Believe me, they're not getting an edge. They're actually handicapping. They're using algorithms. They're betting a lot of money. I think it's worse when they break from the gate and the odds change. That's where the big problem is. And we need to, these tote companies and stuff need to update their technology on how to make it instant. As soon as the money's bet, there's no lag in what changes on the board. But these companies aren't getting an advantage, and they're truly handicapping. They're just professionals at it, using algorithms to do it. But we need to, as soon as the money's bet, it should show up on the tote board. I think the technology's there to do it. It may be expensive to update, but it's time that we do it. And the industry's looking hard at it. I know that the Churchill people are looking at hard at how to fix it. It's just not an easy fix. But the people, they aren't getting any advantage, but they do change the odds. And the worst thing is when the gate opens and the odds change.
Yeah. That's my point.
Yeah, so that's an advantage, Dale. That's an advantage, right? If they can bet at, 9-1, the horse goes off, and it goes off at 3-1, and I'm playing on the other side of that without a CAW, I'm the one getting screwed on that because I'm betting the horse thinking he's going to be 9-1.
It's not. They're not getting an advantage on picking a horse. They're not getting the bet after the horse has run for 10 seconds when the odds are changing.
Right.
That's
it's the odds fluctuation.
They're not getting an advantage in that way. Yeah, but when you decide who you're going to bet and what odds you want to get, it's a disadvantage to you. But the big companies are not getting an advantage picking their horses.
Is there any truth, guys? Do you buy into the theory that CAWs are providing so much money in betting handle to the racetracks that the tracks are just looking the other way and saying, okay, we're all right with CAWs right now and we'll tolerate what's going on, at least for the time being? Is there truth in that?
There's truth to the fact there's a lot of money being bet and the big pools are important for everybody. But there's no truth that they're looking the other way. They're trying to fix the loopholes to make it instant, to where when they bet, the odds are on the board.
Now, the industry needs a strong response to this issue. It is a major issue. It's going to continue to grow and to gather momentum if it's not addressed. And I think you're going to see some moves on the part of the industry as a whole. At least you better see some moves if you want to retain some of the other bigger horse players that are saying, hey, you know what? I'm done with horse racing. I'll put my money somewhere else. And that's not a good situation either. We'll bring Nick Zito back for that segment again next week, right or wrong. But we move on to one more topic before our update on the Showdown 4 competition and our final point of the week. Shane in North Carolina, guys, he wants to know, with Breeders' Cup beginning on Halloween this year, what is your favorite candy to buy, and what candy would you sell and toss when you're looking at Halloween candy? Dale, how about you?
I'm buying a Reese Cup or a Snickers bar, just like the old staples, and I'm selling that candy corn. We've been through this several times on how bad candy corn is. Don't give it. I'd rather get an apple when I was trick-or-treating.
One of my favorites. I love candy corn. How can you sell candy corn?
We've had that argument on here every Halloween.
Yeah.
It's always fun. Tim, how about for you?
Well, I'm 100% with Dale on the candy corn. I think that's the most obscene candy in the history of candy.
I just had some the other day. They're delicious.
No, they're not. They look like bad teeth, and anybody. If I'm a kid and I go to some house and they're pouring some candy cane into my bag, I'm fogging up their windows, I think, or getting the toilet paper on their trees. But
were you that guy? Were you the one throwing the toilet paper on the trees when you were a kid?
No, I probably did stuff worse than that. I mean, that's pretty mild. But Kit Kat, that would be the candy of choice, and also the Reese's peanut butter cups. I agree with Dale on that one too. But I like the Kit Kats. But
I like the chocolate. I like chocolate. I like peanut butter. Don't like the combination of the two.
Well, you're not American then.
Yeah, my wife tells me the same thing. She thinks I'm nuts. She loves them too. I'm in on candy corn. How about your peppermint patties? Those are my other standards.
They stink too, and I bet you Lisa Lazarus hates this topic.
I was thinking the same thing, and neither one of you know what you're talking about. I'm the one who used to be 400 pounds. I know about candy.
Shane in North Carolina, fun topic to wrap it up as we look forward to the Breeders' Cup next week and to, of course, Halloween kicking things off for us on Friday. Dale, before we get to our update on the Showdown 4, not much change there. I'll update that in just a second. But Macero is your horse, one of your horses running at Keeneland today. And Kevin Kilroy was with me earlier in this hour for the TwinSpires Triple Play segment, and he picked Macero as his long shot play. And he said, find out from Dale, am I right on this horse at 20-1?
And I always like Kevin. Yeah, he's right at 20-1. We had a rough trip last time. He fits in there. I mean, it's a tough race like any Keeneland $600,000 race is going to be. Good horse waiting for his breakthrough race. Bet your money at 20-1.
He'll be running at the end. There's no doubt about it. Showdown 4 update. Dale continues to lead as we head into the final section of the Showdown 4. Next weekend, it all wraps up after Breeders' Cup Saturday. Dale has that commanding lead, 81-54 over Tim. I'm way back in third at 51 points, probably out of it. But we'll see what happens next weekend. Dale holding all the cards, and it would be a three-peat, 3 in a row for Dale if he can pull it off. we will see. Final point of the week, Tim Wilkin, go for it.
This weekend starts my tour with the Breeders' Cup, working on their notes team. And among the trainers that I have to deal with every day are Bill Mott. I have Bill Mott. I have Bob Baffert. I have Mark Glatt. I have Riley Mott. I have Will Walden. So those people are going to get to see my smiling face every day.
That's a king wait.
Lucky them.
You're lucky.
What's that?
I was saying maybe I should have gotten you.
Yeah, you could talk about also eligibles list and how much I hate being on there. I want to give a plug out this week to a website that I've stumbled across here, AFarrell12. If somebody wants to see good raw footage at the races, that kid is pretty sharp and he's got a great website up. The guy's John, and he does one of the nerdiest, cool things I've ever heard of. He keeps track of every race he watches, and he has rules to it. It has to be watched live, and he can just see 10 seconds of it, and it counts. And he's up to 1,200-something races this year. So if you want to watch some entertaining, just raw footage behind the scenes of horse racing, AFarrell12.
Is he all over the country with those, or just in Kentucky?
It's just wherever he ends up being, but he seems to be everywhere. He was at Saratoga, he was at Keeneland, he works for the Blood Horse too, but this thing he does on the side for himself. Very knowledgeable young man about horse racing. I've been talking to him this week a little bit. I'm very impressed.
What's his name?
AFarrell12 is the website.
Huh. Interesting. Dale, I'm going to ask you about one more horse before we wrap it up, Dale. Rocky's Balboa, does he throw the knockout punch on Sunday at Churchill?
I think he hits a home run. Rocky's, part owner of him owns the Colorado Rockies, so we need a home run.
And my good friend Jeff Bloom involved in that horse, too. Good luck, brother.
Jeff's in there. He's a nice horse. He is a nice horse.
Yeah. Good luck, my friend. We're going to do this all over again from the Breeders' Cup next Saturday morning. Guys, appreciate it.
All right,
thanks.
Next week.
If you have a topic you want to hear Dale and Tim discuss, go ahead and email it to us, mike@horseracingradio.net. We'll get it worked into the show for you. I Ask the Answer is presented by the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program and the College of Business. I'm back with the answer to this week's impossible trivia question next. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
The world's premier breeding stock event, the November sale at Fasig-Tipton. A night of stars featuring over 70 graded stakes winners or producers, and no less than 30 Grade 1 winners or producers. Champions, millionaires, elite producers, and selected weanlings. One catalog, one spectacular session, one star-studded evening with the highest concentration of quality breeding stock anywhere in the world. The Fasig-Tipton November sale, November 3rd in Lexington, Kentucky. Where will you be?
Did you receive a call or message that mentioned Social Security and demanded immediate action? Did the caller know your Social Security number or other personal information and tell you that your Social Security number had been used in connection with the crime? Did you feel worried that your Social Security number might be suspended, your bank account might be frozen or seized, or you could be arrested? That is not the Social Security Administration. Social Security will not threaten you, demand your personal information, or instant payment. Email or text you pictures or documents, or use a real government official's name to gain your trust. Social Security does not accept payments by gift card, prepaid debit card, internet currency, or by mailing cash. Criminals use these forms of payment because they are hard to trace. Do not be fooled. Hang up. Ignore them. Report this criminal activity to the Social Security Administration Office of the Inspector General at oig.ssa.gov.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
VA has a new life insurance program for veterans with service-connected disabilities called Veterans Affairs Life Insurance, or VA Life. VA Life benefits include up to $40,000 in coverage, no medical questions to enroll, and no time limit to apply if you are age 80 or under. Veterans can apply, receive an instant decision, and manage their policy online. Learn more about VA Life or apply online by visiting va.gov/life-insurance. Protect those who matter most with VA Life Insurance.
Hey, this is Bobby Newman. Join Jude, Feld, and me for our Breeders' Cup countdown shows, Tuesday through Thursday of Breeders' Cup week. We'll be broadcasting live from trackside at Del Mar as we speak with jockeys, trainers, owners, and handicappers, as well as bring you up-to-the-minute news leading up to the 2025 World Championships. The Breeders' Cup countdown shows, Tuesday through Thursday of Breeders' Cup week, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. Listen live on Sirius 160, XM 205, or online at horseracingradio.net.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
The Blood Horse November issue is out now, and it includes the Joe Hirsch Turf Classic winner Rebel's Romance on the cover, who has an unprecedented Breeders' Cup Turf three-peat. That should be fun next weekend. Also featuring how the Breeders' Cup Distaff has showcased some of racing's best fillies and mares. Cool story about Kate Hunter working as a liaison with the Japan Racing Association, and a Breeders' Cup preview. You can become a subscriber for exclusive content for as little as $59 a year, or purchase a single issue at bloodhorse.com. Time now to check in with Lee Delapina. He has the answer to this week's impossible trivia question. Lee?
Thank you, Mike. Who is the oldest thoroughbred to ever win a race in North America? And how old was he when he won? That was Behavin' Jerry, who at the age of 17 came in first in a claiming race at Commodore Downs in 1981.
How about that? Fantastic stuff from Lee. That's a tough question. Did you get it right? I hope you did. We'll be back with another impossible trivia question next Saturday morning. How did M&M's not get a shout out from Dale or Tim or even myself during that segment on I Ask the Answer? They're popular, right? Who doesn't love an M&M? Peanut, regular, doesn't matter. Still going with the candy corns and the York peppermint patties, though. My thanks to all of our guests for making this show possible. I hope everybody has a wonderful Halloween, enjoys the Breeders' Cup Friday next weekend. I'm back with this show here Saturday morning, Breeders' Cup edition. Don't miss it. Don't miss all of our lead-in shows to the Breeders' Cup kicking off on Tuesday morning live from Del Mar. You can see a complete schedule on our website, horseracingradio.net. For my producer, Lee Delapina, in our Lexington studios, for Chauncey for handling all of our social media, I'm Mike Penna. Thanks for listening, and yeah, go Steelers, bring on the pack.